Podcast Charge!
Everyone, and welcome to episode 125 of LostinTranslationmon. I'm May,
And I'm Jay.
and this time we watched Kurata's Revenge.
Or Smash Kurata's Ambition, LiT Yatagaramon.
And memory is the first thing to go.
Or Masteru's Memory Erased, The Lost Band.
For DigiNews this week, there's not really any DigiNews, but for NewsLatelymon, we got MadFest passes, which is the Madman Anime Festival.
I got a ticket. I got May to come as staff.
Yeah, so we both applied for media passes. Also, new blog posts, but I've been posting these basically a lot, so I won't talk about all of them. But they're about Digimon and stuff and reviews. Also, the 6th strap for the latest Tri-Rubber Straps was revealed finally by me. It is exactly what everyone thought it would be, but I guess people are expecting something else because this one was too obvious, but no, it turned out to be the obvious one.
Well, what was that?
Well, I'm not going to tell them because the people might want to know. They may want to read the blog post and be surprised.
Are you telling me that it's not Yggdrasil?
It's not Yggdrasil.
Well, that's disappointing. Obviously, they're not very confident about that design, huh?
Maybe they don't know design from them. Well, here's a concept.
Yeah, maybe they're not going to show that at all.
And we got some art from Ellie-Vorg. Ellie-Vorg drew Dracomon flicking Lotmon.
It was really cute.
Ellie-Vorg said that they had to devolve Airdramon to be a Dracomon because otherwise Airdramon doesn't really have flicking utensils.
Yeah, it got a tail. Go bam.
And on to Obnoxious Synopsis. The first episode that we're watching this week is called Kurata's Revenge, or Smash Kurata's Ambition, LiT Yatagaramon. What do you think will happen in this episode?
Wait, Yatagaramon?
Yatagaramon.
Like Yatagarasu?
What's that?
The Black Raven?
Yes.
Okay. I'm thinking in that case that Falcomon... what does Falcomon's evolve into?
Peckmon.
Peckmon's going to evolve into the next level, and that'll be a whole thing. Kurata's Revenge. What's he even getting revenge for?
Well, he's salty, but he got a little bit of spook from the digital world.
Yeah, but he's already gotten tons of revenge for that.
Yeah, he wants more revenge, apparently.
So, I mean, I guess he kills Mercurimon and goes on a murder rampage.
See, I told you Mercurimon was a Leomon.
You're right, he is.
He died. Everything that dies is a Leomon.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
Ken's brother, Leomon. Leomon. Juri's mother, Leomon.
Don't do this to me.
Leomon.
So, I don't know, Ikuto will come to a conclusion that it doesn't matter if I'm human, I'm still protecting the digital world because this is still my real home.
Human!
Because my actual parents have disappeared forever and I'll never see them again. So, yeah, then he'll evolve his Digimon again and it'll be a whole thing. He'll beat up a Gizmon AT, I guess.
Apparently. Do you think anything will annoy you in this episode?
Kurata, everything he says and does, like, honestly, I'm so sick of him already. Because he's not... I don't care about his motivation. His motivation is, Digimon is scary. And he cries a bit. And then he invents anti-Digimon guns, which I can respect.
Do you think it'll be a good episode?
No.
What rating?
5.
That's not too bad, but not great either. Filler or not filler? I can't talk right now.
Not filler particularly.
Anything else you want to predict about the first episode?
No, let's move on.
The second episode is called Memory is the First Thing to Go, or Masaru's Memories Erased? The Lost Bond. James Bond.
I have no idea. It will probably be a silly Digimon's effect, like Metal Phantomon, that like busts his memory a little bit, and he'll be like, what's an Agumon? I've never heard of that before. And then it'll all be resolved by the end of the episode.
Do you think anything will be annoying?
If his like personality like really distinctly changes as a result, or if it's done so extreme as like it's unbelievable, because we know what he's like before he meets Agumon, which is pretty much this, but he doesn't have an Agumon then. Whereas I think he's gonna be like weird and aggressive, like I hate you, and like the Atmon in Atmon when they lose their memory.
Right. Do you think it'll be a good episode?
No.
What rating?
4.
Filler or not filler?
Yes.
Yes, filler or?
Yes, filler.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about the second episode?
I'm tired. Let's go.
All right. Let's get ready to podcast. Yeah. The first episode that we watched this week starts off with how episode 24 finished, with Ikuto running to Marukimon, and he says, look, I can treat you, I can heal you. And this is an interesting sort of thing because he's sort of applying this knowledge he learned as a Digimon to heal a Digimon, and it's sort of like this sort of like warrior instinct.
I never got the sense he actually knew how to heal him. He was just saying it in a hopeful way. Like, I'm sure we can fix this.
See, I didn't get this way at all. I thought that it was his upbringing of being, the Digimon warrior in the digital world, and they probably had some sort of, maybe, first aid training's not the right word for it, but they had some sort of knowledge on healing an injured Digimon.
I would be shocked if at any point during the series we ever saw Ikuto displaying he had any sort of capability to do that at all.
I feel like we've seen it before, I just can't remember.
We definitely have not. I can guarantee you we have not. We've seen it the other way, where Ikuto was sick and people looked after him, but we've not seen Ikuto look after anybody.
Well, we have definitely seen Falcomon have knowledge about healing, yes.
Sure, Falcomon can, but Ikuto can't, maybe.
Or maybe he was including Falcomon in that. Like, they can heal him.
Now that's... Wow, Ikuto really is a human. He's like, I can do it. By which I mean, this tool I have of a Digimon can do it. But it's basically me, because I'm the person.
But I still got that impression because no other human said, "Oh, I will heal you." This is done in a way that's like he has some sort of knowledge of healing in battle.
I mean, he's a 10-year-old, and unlike Toma, he's not a doctor.
Yeah, but he has a different upbringing than a regular 10-year-old. He's lived in the digital world for 10 years.
I understand that, but you don't have the capability of learning a lot of that stuff for most of the time. I don't think he has the knowledge that he purports to have, is what I'm trying to say.
I know, it's just an interesting thing that I picked up. Kurata then says that it's no use, and his goal is Digimon genocide.
That's a pretty unbelievable statement for someone to make. And he basically straight up just says, what I've been saying this whole time, is Digimon are scary, and so they should all die.
I think that's a fine motivation. Like, it's the same. It's probably better than any other motivation we've had of, I want to rule the digital world because I want to rule the digital world. It's better than that. It's better than probably the majority of motivations in Digimon, just like, I want to rule the world.
I'm not sure I agree.
He just doesn't... His pride got hurt. He was hurt by Digimon. Like, he was scared by Digimon. He thinks Digimon are all awful. And he's quite often shown to be like this deranged man. So it could also be just those sort of... him thinking, oh yes, as soon as like, they'll get near you and they'll get the chance, they'll hurt you and kill you. And they're bad and they scared me. And like, he's shown not to be the most like sane thinker at the moment, so I think it's actually fine motivation of, oh no, I got scared and now I have to kill them all.
Well, I understand that, but what I mean is that I can understand why a Digimon would say, you know what, I want to rule the digital world. I understand the mechanisms of power, and I think that is important because of the way I want to live my life. That makes sense. For this guy to say, I want to commit genocide of all Digimon, there are so many things going on here. First of all, he needs to convince all of these other people that he's correct. And if he is so unhinged that he got spooked once and that's a reason to commit genocide, I can't believe that he would be so unhinged and yet be able to actually convince anyone of anything.
Jay, you do realize this is how wars start, right? People say, I don't like this race of people, so I'm going to say things about them, maybe not necessarily true, but I'm going to generalize a whole group of people, a whole religion, a whole race of people because of maybe the actions of one individual. And I was thrown out of this cave by this mad Digimon, and he was on fire, and he wanted to kill me, and then we had to wrestle with it to get it away. Then another Digimon, like this giant Digimon in another cave was trying to kill us, and it was scary, and we only just got free, and one of the humans is still there and got killed. It is terrible, it is awful, and we have to kill them. I'm sorry, that is how all wars start.
I think you're hilariously oversimplifying the way that wars start. Wars almost always arise out of either extremely old conflicts that reignite or over strategic elements that people really want. He never says, I want parts of the digital world and the genocide's way to get them. That makes total sense, right? If, say, digital world, this would be actually very important. If it had oil in it, and it was, 2005, this would be really, it would be interesting around the time of the Iraq War.
Yeah,
we are doing this for reasons. It's not that. He needs to convince them on the basis of being spooked. For example, right? How many people in the world have been killed by bears?
I don't think...
Is it more than 2?
I think it's more than 2, yeah.
It's definitely more than 2. It's hundreds, thousands.
Yeah.
Bears kill people. You know what we haven't done as a species?
We have killed the sharks.
Genocide the bears.
We have killed the sharks.
Yes.
We have hunted sharks.
But you know how sharks...
Just because they happen to kill a couple of people because people
Sharks
were in
not
their
extinct.
Area.
They exist.
They're endangered. Great white sharks are
Some of them are,
endangered.
yes. Although, to be fair, a lot of that stuff has to do with, like, I think their fins are medicinal. So that's weird, right?
Yeah.
That has nothing to...
That's a lot of animals.
There has partially to do with the danger on them, but the human instinct is not kill all of them. And now you have to extrapolate this out to A, we understand that these things are intelligent and sentient. We understand that now because a vast majority of the people on this expedition would have reported that back. And the people who vastly outranked this guy would have said that as well. Then also,
I think fear is just one hell of a motivational
No, I understand that, but it's a motivator to certain things. I just don't think it can be a motivator to genocide. Because in the sense that, imagine, right, if it turned out the moon had full cities and continents worth of aliens on it. We just didn't find out until the 60s.
I'm sorry to, like, bring up, World War II and stuff and the Nazis, but you do realize Hitler blamed the Great Depression on the Jewish people just because he didn't get into art school, right?
Okay.
Like, I'm sorry, that's
also a very much oversimplification of the issue, but yeah, I understand what you mean. But that also comes off histories.
Jay, that is on the same sort of line of, oh, well, these Digimon are scary and I don't like them, I'm going to kill them.
Okay, but that also stems from...
And a bunch of people believe that?
That stems from hundreds, thousands of years of anti-Semitic thought coming out and racism that exists within people and the ability to convince a full nation about a certain way of thinking because they indoctrinated them over the course of 5-10 years. It's so much more than one science man making anti-Digimon guns in his backyard who happens to have some mercenary friends. It's not the same thing.
I'm just saying that...
He thinks that 12 people can wipe out a full dimension's worth of beings.
Well, clearly he's done a good job if he managed to kill a very large percentage of them.
I don't think he did.
Marukimon seemed to think so.
A large percentage? He says that most Digimon are dead now? Yeah. He's never said that.
I'm pretty sure he did.
No, he said a lot of Digimon are dead.
I'm pretty sure at some point we had explicit and he said, killing off the majority of the Digimon.
I would be shocked if he ever said that. I don't think that's what happened, because that's really out there.
I feel like despite the digital world being a big place, I don't think it's necessarily I don't think it's a huge population on a big space. I think it's quite a smaller population on a big space. I feel like there might be some places that are just unpopulated. Like in previous seasons, we've just seen deserts which have nothing in them.
I mean, sure, but we've only ever seen a really small area of this place. And at the same time, they're able to spare hundreds and hundreds of Terramon and the bull or whatever. And that's only one species. And there's no way they're throwing the entire species of that in there, thinking that there are literally thousands of different kinds of Digimon.
Also, it is possible that Kurata hasn't thought things out very well.
Yeah, but
that is a possibility. And that.
But if he hasn't thought it out very well, how are people following him? How is he convincing anyone of anything?
He's a good motivational speaker. Clearly, he's just because he's convinced people, it doesn't mean he's right.
No, but I understand that. But the problem here is that he's so clearly manic and crazy that there's no way that anyone would be convinced by this. When you look back at... I hate using World War II in this, especially considering my own family's history, but you can understand how people thought in a certain way and how people were pressured to think in a certain way by a society that told them that something was okay. But when you look at this story, I can't envisage Kurata ever being effective. And I also don't believe his reasoning here.
Well, Kurata...
It just doesn't make sense.
Kurata would have said, so all those disappearances were because of the Digimon and because they're evil and they are...
He hasn't said that.
We don't know what he said to the...
He's explaining his whole plan right now.
Jay, what we're saying is... What we're saying on how we convince the other people who are following Kurata to do what they're doing. And Kurata probably said something along the lines of, hey, look, Digimon have been coming here. They've been killing us. They invaded us last week. And even before then, decade ago, they were just making people disappear. These are Digimon, these are bad. We have to kill them because they are threatening our way of life.
But that is already killing them. That's already their job. There's already a government organization doing it and cleaning them up pretty efficiently, considering.
I know, but Kurata could also argue they're not doing a good job because it's still happening. They're returning them to the digital world. They're not just killing them, and that makes them come back. And that's why Kurata says, but with what I've invented, we can kill them and they won't come back.
Then why wouldn't he have given that to the government directly in a way that would have been public knowledge to everyone? I just consistently feel like the story is based around, isn't it cool that the Digimon police are a government body, and then they don't actually treat them that way? They keep throwing around terms that make it sound governmenty, but if you think about anything that has happened, it's complete nonsense.
See, I just don't think you're open to accepting that it's actually well done or even
Because it's
done
clearly
okay.
not.
I think you might be wrong.
I think you might be wrong.
Well, I don't know.
I think Kurata's a laughing maniac saying, genocide! And everyone's like, yeah, that's our boss. Yeah,
because,
that makes perfect sense.
We've had Digimon do it, and this is much better than the time the Digimon just says, I just don't like humans.
But the Digimon is almost always completely powerful on a one-sided basis. Like, Piedmon's just a powerful being by himself. So if he goes insane, I would understand, right? If your Devimon is mad with power, it's because he personally has power.
I was talking about...
Kurata's power is entirely based on the fact that he has the government backing him for no reason.
I was talking about the gods from Tamers.
Well, they're gods.
How we had the Phoenix one who were just like, I just don't like humans.
But
I think you're all scum.
But that's a god, right? Do you understand the difference between a god and a... There's a guy who's kind of qualified to do science.
I think he thinks
he knows
God.
some stuff.
I think he has a very overinflated sense of worth.
Yeah, but within the digital world, if you recognize that thing is God, it makes sense for you to follow that because they're God. This is Johnny Science Man who purportedly...
he can create his own Digimon, like that's pretty
But they
powerful.
don't know that. He hasn't told them about this.
No, he
hasn't been open with it. And purportedly, he was not the leader of these these soldiers beforehand. So they've only just met him today as well. What are they doing here?
As I said, I think they just believe in what Kurata's told them and are sort of like his followers in that way, that he's sort of spouted this thing about how evil Digimon are and how Digimon are ruining our way of life and they're trying to defeat us, they're trying to invade our world, they're a force that must be stopped, and dads aren't doing a good enough job of just holding them back. We need to completely destroy them, and simply just destroying the way to get to the digital world isn't enough because they're finding their way through.
Then why would
they must be eliminated.
Then why would he lie about it to the government who he's accountable to?
Because he wants his way.
But he would get his way if he's so convincing and everyone believes him.
I feel like these particular mercenaries are maybe DATs aren't as, because they're like, hey, we have Digimon.
So did he choose the team? He was put in charge of a team that already existed. So, but did he choose all these people who follow him already?
The mercenaries, I think they just came to him because that maybe he spoke to them. Maybe he said, hey, look, Digimon are bad, and maybe they were part of this following group, and he found this group and was just basically, well, I can have this hate group.
And like in the next episode, he becomes, I don't know what he has a particular post that they give him. Like he's an assistant director of the National Security Council. How does he get into all these places?
Well, he already particularly, didn't he already have like a high position?
No.
In government?
He was an assistant to Masaru's dad.
After that?
No, then he's just a Johnny Science Man. He was a guy that worked with DATs once.
I also think
that's who he was.
I think the Ministry of Confidentiality are probably not too bright and easily convinced.
But that's the thing, right? Is now the story is based on, the story revolves around how this one government agency, which shouldn't even have this jurisdiction, is full of idiots.
See, I just don't think you're open to
I'm not being open.
Sabers.
I'm telling you what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a story that is built on the shakiest foundation and trying to be like, no, it's fine, just closing its eyes.
See, I think it's fine.
I don't think anything that's happening makes any sense. Because, for example, in the next episode, they come out of the digital world and they say, yeah, you've been arrested for treason. No, you've been charged with treason. Okay, well, what evidence do you have? Well, no, who cares? We're just going to memory wipe you and go and put you away now. Which we'll cover.
And I think that's still like that is still supported by Kurata is one hell of an arguer and is able to intimidate them and saying, look, Digimon are bad. These people, they're working with the Digimon who are trying to kill us. Hey, remember that invasion the other day? Yeah, they're working for the Digimon. If someone convincingly said that and you're not too bright, like you're the Ministry of Confidentiality.
I'm sorry, you're just a minister in government. You must be a moron.
Well, we've seen that this guy is like the Ministry of Confidentiality. They don't seem too fond of Digimon in general, so and he's like kind of like a creepy looking dude.
But did you know the Minister of Confidentiality wouldn't be the guy levying criminal charges at you? He wouldn't be. It would be the police, who is a different department entirely, who you would then have to explain what Digimon are to them. You know what would be really good is if the show established what power the Ministry of Confidentiality has. Because they've clearly established that Kurata can just overrule them on certain things, and then on other things, he gets overruled. And they just never make it clear at all, because they're very wishy-washy, like, it's the government, of course they can do whatever they want.
I think it's if they think that Kurata is saying something that makes sense and they agree with him, then they'll let his whatever he's thinking pass.
So you think that I agree we should give the child to Johnny Science Man, who I clearly trust above all else. And Kurata says, no, give the child to this other child. Well, government says, that makes perfect sense. I guess I'll have to let it go.
I don't know.
Everyone says it's his jurisdiction, but I guess it's...
I don't think it's as badly written as you think it is.
I think that he's a laughing maniac, and it's unbelievable.
So after Kurata says how his goal is to eliminate or have the all Digimon genocide, it's elimination in the dub, because he says that he realized that Digimon only bring destruction, and this is what he realized when he first saw the digital world. In the dub, I just noticed this kind of... I guess it's like... I'm not sure if it's inconsistency, but it's something I noticed. So we get like this flashback of when Kurata's shooting at the Digimon, and the dub leaves it in. They cut that scene originally, so I'm not sure like... And I noticed that this is a problem I have a lot with the dub in this episode in particular, is that it quite often leaves or cuts things that it has or hasn't previously. Like it's got an inconsistent, like, oh, well, what gets cut? Oh, let's cut guns. Let's not cut guns. It's just like, it's sort of inconsistent of how much it wants to cut. And either you can cut guns, that's fine. If he's trying to say, oh, we don't really want to talk about guns, we can get the same message across that he wants to kill the Digimon. But then to leave it in, and it's just, it's still that thing that, like, the weird sounds that Rise Greymon's gun makes, and they keep on cutting. Whenever Rise Greymon shoots towards the camera, they always cut that in the dub, and it's really weird. I'm not sure why. I think it's because, they don't want them to be shooting at the viewer.
What do you call a flashback to a thing you were never shown in the first place?
It's still a flashback. It's a flashback for the character.
Oh, I guess.
It's a memory. I always call them flashbacks, but maybe there's a better word. But it's just something interesting that I noticed, and as I said, it's something I noticed in this episode in general, and not so much the next one, but definitely this one. We get like, oh no, we have a flashback that was definitely there in the original, but wasn't there in the dub. I don't know, it's just, it's just a weird thing that I noticed. The main characters are mad because they were manipulated, and they said, look, I thought we were just going to talk to them, I thought we were just going to come here, and Kurata's like, well, you're all stupid, basically. Like, I wanted to kill them from the start, and you led me here, so well done. And he's pretty, like, sarcastic the whole time, and he's kind of, like, not just sarcastic, but kind of, like, arrogant. That's the better word.
Or crazy.
Yes.
Like, notably, certifiably crazy.
And then Masaru says, I'm going to punch you, and I'm really, really, really annoyed now.
Can't believe it took him this long to come to this conclusion.
Like, yeah, to be fair, like, I agree with you there. Like, it seems like Masaru just wants to, like, why are you talking when I could be punching you right now? Like, I feel like as soon as Kurata says, oh, I'm actually evil and I want Digimon elimination, like, I expected Masaru just to appear out of nowhere and just bop him on the head.
Like, the third syllable of genocide should have been just the sound of Masaru's fist hitting his
Genocide. It's like a big genocide or something. I don't know. Gizmon gets in the way while Masaru tries to punch Kurata.
Okay, so right now, what's the next sentence? What happens to Masaru here?
He gets the Digisoul.
But you say he gets in the way, right?
Gizmon gets in the way of Kurata. So Marcus punches Gizmon instead of Kurata.
Yeah, but what happens when he punches him? Just kind of gets
Digisoul.
Yeah, but it doesn't knock him down or anything. He's like, oh no, the guy got my way and defended from my punch. What happens in the next episode?
What do you mean?
He punches the Gizmon and it like flies to the side.
I do feel like the Gizmon are definitely stronger in this episode than they were in the last episode. I mean, it's the next episode rather than this episode.
Yeah, because when, in this case, 3 adults can't defeat one, and the next one they all sort of defeat one each.
Well, they're all 3 perfects, you mean?
So all 3 perfects can't defeat one, and then the next episode, each one defeats one each.
Okay, I think it's because you always get a buff when you first appear in an episode. You are immediately much stronger than you should be, and then in the next episode, your regular strength, for example, Yatagaramon, becomes like paper.
Gets punked out immediately.
And is incredibly strong and basically fights a Gizmon, but with Marukimon's help.
Doesn't that undermine your, the storytelling?
Like, yes, you're right, that is a huge problem, but to be fair, it is a huge problem in Digimon in general. Remember when we had, in Frontier, because that's the last season we watched, we had Loemon, and he showed up and he beat, like, a clone of Cherubimon, and, I mean, yes, it was a clone, but it was a clone that the other children couldn't fight. And then immediately, the next episode, Loemon's now much weaker than everyone else.
I do. I recently listened to, a 20-minute discussion about power levels. It was focused on Dragon Ball Z, but Dragon Ball Z has the same problem that Digimon has, which is people will go to, the next form, or they'll learn a new technique, but all that does is it raises their like quote unquote power level, at which point, which is just essentially a number, right? And then once you go from this power level to this one, the only difference is when you punch the bad guy, they look surprised and now it hurts, which is how Digimon works every time.
Oh yeah, Digimon has this problem. I think maybe it's just a shonen anime thing. Like, oh,
it's not.
It's a new strength.
No, let me explain. The reason it's not is because if you look at shows that are like, you know, let's give Naruto credit and include it in the good side on this, but specifically, let's look at My Hero Academia as like the new hotness in shonen anime. What makes My Hero?
I still maintain, like, I love My Hero.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's pretty slice of life for a shonen anime.
It gets a very clear storyline very soon.
I mean, the other thing is, like, it doesn't have like hundreds of episodes.
It's true.
So there's also that.
Only got 40.
It's great though.
So what makes My Hero really interesting is that not everyone is the same power level, but there generally are not power levels that people move between. They're not going to go, oh, I'm way stronger now because I'm the level 2 of my power. What the story of a fight will be is, how do we bend the rules? How do we have our powers interact in a certain way? How do we solve the puzzle to defeat the enemy that we are fighting?
Right.
There are some enemies that seem to have really unfair powers, but when you look at how they are defeated, those are really fascinating displays because something clever has to happen. No Game No Life is like this as well. No Game No Life is a show about people playing games for really high stakes, and cheating is illegal, but everyone cheats in every game. So how do you beat those cheaters? Well, you don't just, I'm stronger now, so I guess I win, which is consistently what happens in Digimon. Instead, it's, I had a strategy, I work you through exactly how that strategy worked, and then I came to a victory. And those are all really interesting.
Right.
And I think that's what makes those stories fascinating to watch, and I think that's what really makes Digimon fights so boring. And what I really liked about Atmon, and I think what you really liked about Atmon as well, is that when you put these two Atmon against each other, how do their powers interact in their fight?
Yes, no, that's the point.
It eventually went away in Atmon, and it got replaced with the story you kind of cared about, and that's okay. The problem is, if you don't really care about the story, and the fighting is all just power level stuff, then you're not left with very much. And I think this is a situation where the Gizmon, and all Digimon, but like the Gizmon here are really unclear. And I'm pretty bothered that the Gizmon are actually Digimon. Because think about Kurata's...
Well, the next episode... the end of this episode does say that they are Digimon.
Well, he says it's an adult level, and then it like evolves. Like, it's got all of the... It does.
Yeah, no, but he says that he did a Neo, and he did a Digimon Emperor. He made the Digimon from existing Digimon, and in that way became Digimon. Like, we just read V-Tamer Volume 7, and covered that on the last manga podcast.
As if there are any actual references to it. There's no Arcadimon here.
No, but it's the same sort of thing that Neo created Neo Devimon and Neo created Kalismon.
I understand.
And it's the same way, and the Digimon Emperor created Chimeramon.
Sure.
Is that, yes, they are human-made Digimon,
yeah,
but they still sort of have the same rules as Digimon. They are still called Digimon. They still have the levels of child, adult, perfect, ultimate.
Oh, I'm not saying that it doesn't. I'm not saying it has to be just a robot that isn't a Digimon, right? I'm not saying that it was impossible for him to make one. That's not my issue. Although it is interesting that he managed it.
Yeah, I mean, also
my issue is that, okay, Neo made these Digimon, right? But it is totally within his character that if they failed him, he would delete them, because that's his entire character structure, right?
Yes.
What's Kurata's character structure? He explains it to you perfectly, which is Digimon are aggressive, and no matter how much you think they are your friends and they are listening to you, eventually they'll turn on you. It is beyond my comprehension that someone who thinks that Digimon are so dangerous and untrustworthy
would make their own?
That he must genocide them. Yeah, that he'd make his own. If his own weapon was the thing that in his mind is what would kill him, so weird.
I think because in his mind these aren't Digimon now, these are his creations, and the only part of them that's Digimon is the fact they were created from Digimon, they experimented on, and which that part is added to the show to sort of make you say he is not nice. We know that Digimon are friends, and he's not just killing them, he's also experimenting on them, which is awful.
I think I said this before about other things. I think you like to exercise a lot of favorable additional thinking on behalf of the show, which for stuff that may not be there, and it might be, but I think in the case with the characters, like, here's all my motivation, I'm gonna tell it all to you because I'm in a villainous monologue now. The fact that he doesn't say any of that stuff tells me it probably isn't there.
But sometimes they don't have to. Maybe it's something you can just learn from the show. Like,
he's not being subtle.
I take from this is that he doesn't think of them as Digimon, and that's why he's allowing himself to use them. He's sort of, yes, that they're from Digimon, but they are not Digimon, like, in that way. Like, they follow the same rules as they have the power levels and they evolve, and they have Mon at the end, and they turn back to Digitama.
So do you think that at the part where he's like, help me and I'll let you keep your Digimon partners, do you think that was just like the worst lie anyone has ever told? Or do you think he was legitimate? Oh no, those Digimon will be fine though.
I think he might have tested on them and says, hey, I told you I wouldn't kill them. And he tests on them and then he makes new Gizmon. That would be horrific. Imagine if he grabbed the Digimon and made this like this awful like combination of them with Gizmon, and they just look tortured.
If I stop you, you're going down your own long yellow brick road of weirdness here.
I'm just saying that he probably was just lying, but imagine if he was saying, yeah, we'll use them. We'll make good use of them.
That's not what he said. He said, I'll let you keep them.
Yeah, but keep in what form?
No, I don't, like, it wasn't open that way.
I know, I could say, but he could just be lying.
I mean, I guess. I'm not going to say that's not possible. But, yeah, so I don't know, I thought it was a weird thing for him to say after he just opened with they're all evil, even your friends. So yeah, power levels are stupid is what I meant to say. And that was the next bit. So Mercurymon has his dad talk with Kudo.
Just before that, so all the members evolve their Digimon to perfect level, and in the dub there's this added line, as there tends to be, and we have Thomas saying how, Marcus, why'd you have to dive in there? I'm like, well, he's Marcus. Are we surprised by this now? Like, he sasses him for no reason. Like, well, like, to be fair, Marcus was quite upset with the situation, and Marcus had a reason, and also Marcus didn't, like, cause any damage, and Thomas is like, oh, now we have to evolve our Digimon. Like, well, is this not what you do in Digimon?
Yeah, Thomas the genocide sympathizer.
I
just wanted to kill all Digimon. Well, why did you have to stop him?
Thomas the tank engine mon. I tried to make a joke that I'm sure you're tired.
Get sandbagged, nerd.
It's like, it's really late. It's so late at night. Then it doesn't take any damage, even when they attack all at once, Jay.
Did they actually attack all at once? Because I wrote down, hey guys, you should consider attacking all at once, because they sort of go one after another, it seems to me.
At one point they do attack all at once, but they don't actually say, hey guys, let's attack all at once.
That's only after it evolves to perfect.
Yeah, and then they definitely
Which
do
is later in the episode.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. But then next episode when they attack all at once and it's an adult level, the thing dies, which implies that if they did it right now, it would have all worked out and Mikurumon wouldn't have died. So if they did the one thing they always do in every fight and they just chose not to do now, Mikurumon would still be alive.
Arguably in the next episode you can also say, oh, they were just doing that with the power of friendship that they now have.
That too, I guess.
Yeah, when they were powered up by it. And I guess, like, Digimon's kind of just about the power of friendship and powering up to get more power, right? As much as I don't like the power of friendship and the power of love, like, it's kind of like just like, oh yeah, Digimon just like, if you have a strong relationship with your Digimon, they will fight better.
That's not a problem as long as that's what the story you're trying to tell. That's literally what V-Tame is all about.
V-Tame is just like the power of him being mad.
No, it's the power of friendship. That's what that whole that's what the whole series is about.
It's the power of friendship, but also it is said that Zero gets more powerful if he gets mad.
Yes, but the reason he gets more powerful if he gets mad is because he's trying to like protect Taichi.
Yes.
And it's all the whole relationship.
Okay, out of all the things in Digimon that do power of friendship, I feel like V-Tamer does it the best.
Of course it does.
V-Tamer and Atmon both do power of friendship and power of love pretty
They do them very differently though.
Yes.
So, as I was saying, Mikurumon gives Ikuto this dad speech, and it ends with, like, okay, so he's dying now, right? And he goes, I guess Digimon and humans can work together. Given that he was out there before saying, like, oh, we should kill the humans, this is pretty late when he's dying. And I believe in the English, he says, I always knew that humans and Digimon could live together.
Except for that time you didn't.
I can't believe they tried to roll that one back.
Except that the time you said, Suguru must have betrayed me.
Oh my god, he's so stupid.
I guess you could be referring to the part he said, oh, Sakura must have betrayed me. It was sort of like
that was like a period of 2 weeks.
Yeah, he said, oh, well, maybe I was right back then.
I always thought was 2 weeks that happened 10 years ago.
I feel like they could have worded it differently, but I can sort of see what they're going for.
Because for the last 10 years, he was of the opinion that all humans were evil.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Was it actually 10 years? Because it was 10 years when Akuto was a newborn and was put into the Diddle World and the Exploration Squad came out. And Kuruto, that went a bit weird. Akuto actually is able to speak by the time that the Kurata comes around and kills all the Digimon.
Could he?
He says, me, Digimon warrior.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, and he puts the face paint on him, and it's like, and him crying about and say, Frigimon, don't die, Frigimon, don't die.
That's been a few years, huh?
Yeah, so I would say he's probably maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, okay.
Even
Still,
though, like,
last 5 years he's thought this.
Yeah, so I feel like there was a period of time, like if they just say that it was like 2 weeks, then it's badly written.
Hold on, but it's so weird, right? Because he's like, thinking about Suguru, who's a guy he like trusts and like is really cool with, and 5 years later some bad things happen. Ooh, it must have been that guy I trusted and loved for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Ooh, I hate him.
I think during that 5 years, that gave time for Suguru to design the Digivice, and it also...
But not leave the digital world.
Yes, because I feel like he still wanted to meet God, and he
Also,
hadn't met
you
God
know
yet.
that's not the case. We know that's not the case because next episode,
What do you mean?
Digivices already exist.
Yeah, because Suguru designed it
When?
during those 5 years.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
It said what he did.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it literally did, like an episode ago.
No, in the next episode, in the conversation he has with Mikurumon the first time they ever meet, he gives him one.
I thought that was like...
He says, here, this is a Digivice, and that's how Ikuto... No, it's this episode. In this episode, that explains how Ikuto got his Digivice.
We don't know if that was the same day, though. I don't... There is no...
He's dressed the same.
Yes, so do the Adventure Kids. It's called You Don't Change Your Clothes in the Digital World because you don't smell, apparently, because you're data. It's just...
It appeared to be the same conversation.
Yes, but I don't think it is because I feel like where did this design come from? And because of the fact that we have Satsuma saying that, Suguru, we were sent the blueprints. So they didn't have the blueprints or the design or the Digivice prior to this. So I feel like this scene is maybe taking place a couple of years after they first meet.
It is implied to me that Mikurumon only ever met Suguru this one time.
No.
Well, I don't know what evidence you have that there was more than once.
I feel like they were just chatting in the cave because that's just where Marukimon sat. And because it was the same scene, because yes, it's in the cave with the big digiportal where Marukimon can't leave. And because nobody ever changes their clothes in the digital world, the kids are probably there for maybe like a couple of days.
Well, he sends this dude off to Yggdrasil, and presumably he does not come back. Because if he came back, I'm sure he'd be really different.
I don't know. But the point is, like, during this 5 years, that also gives time for Kurata to convince a bunch of people to join his cause.
Like, I hadn't thought about this, but I really think that was in one scene, and he just already had a Digivice. Which is a weird question, because how did he get one?
Where did he pull the design from?
Yes.
I feel like it needed to, this part to be less confusing, it needed to actually say, and then 2 years ago, two years pass, and Suguru comes back with these designs, and then leaves to go find God.
At least we know where Ikuto got his Digivice from. It was from Masaru's dad.
Yes, and that is good.
But I really do think it was that first time.
I don't know. If it was the first time, then yes, okay, that part's badly written.
I think it might be.
Because it contradicts a lot of things, like, these designs, they must be from Suguru. We've never seen these Digivices before, unless I've missed something.
We might need to see that part again.
But I don't think it's the same scene, because otherwise that scene wouldn't make sense.
I've literally written in my notes, but guys, have you considered attacking all at once?
Yeah, because that always works. So we have this scene just a bit before when Marukimon's all dying and stuff. So LiTymon tries to use her pollen on Gizamon, but Kurata says, look, that won't work because he's a robot. He's a robot, and he's not even really a Digimon. I've created him from Digimon parts because I tested on some Digimon.
That doesn't matter, does it? Like, you can make a person out of person parts, and then it's still a person.
That's like the movie May.
What?
There's a movie called May. She creates people from people parts.
Oh, fair enough.
It's disturbing. It's like Frankenstein.
Nothing about what he says means anything. And you have to assume that because she's a Digimon, the pollen doesn't work on biological parts because everyone's made of data.
Well, it is said that it affects your heart. And if you don't have a heart, it doesn't affect you. Like, it explicitly says, it can paralyze the heart. So I guess it's not so much like a nervous system spray as it is just like a cardiovascular system spray.
They don't have those.
No, they clearly have heart.
No, but if
however,
we've seen them dissolve. We've seen what their insides look like, and it's just data.
However, I should actually try to listen to the words used because quite often the word for heart and soul is said as kokoro, and they're the same word and the same writing. Okay. So it could be in the way that we are reading the subtitles, and the subtitles, while they are saying heart, they might actually mean soul.
So the pollen works on the soul?
I don't know.
I assumed it was like, it's a robot. Why would pollen work on a robot? It's like, well, we didn't think about how Digimon work ever, do we?
Well, maybe it's because they mean soul. But that's like the problem that I have with, there are so many words in Japanese, and sometimes subtitles can be just sort of, not like translating things like 100%, but sort of interpreting them in different ways. So I feel like while we are reading the subtitles, we may not be getting the 100% same sort of this is what happened in the original version because we don't know the actual full translation. And that's why I want to become fluent in Japanese. So I actually know the legitimate, what are they talking about? What is this scene about? Are they talking about heart? Are they talking about soul? Or then maybe they're talking about both. Japanese is hard. There are so many words. It's like, for example, like
I believe you.
for example, with the title, when it says, they're going to the real world, but they used Ningen, like Ningen Sekai, which is like human world. So the subtitle said real world, but actually, like the text actually said human world. It's sort of in that way, like, oh, well, the subtitles just like used the wrong word or used a word that we may be more familiar with as real world, which is what a lot of people in the fandom and in Digimon in general say that, oh yes, the human world is the real world and the digital world is the digital world, right?
Sure.
So yeah, this is when we have the part of Marukimon being given Akuto's Digivice, and Suguru says, look, give this to Akuto. And I'm glad this is explained. I forgot that it was explained, but I'm glad it was.
I thought that you were sandbagging this for me.
What?
I was always like, did we find out? You're like, I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Maybe you did, though.
No, there was some, as I said, I watched this season in like
Look,
the
it's
space
really
of 2
minor.
weeks.
It makes sense you would have forgotten that.
Well, yeah, it's a 5-second part, but you know what? Without that 5-second part, it would be really not too great.
It's also a 5-second part that might by itself be a huge plot hole.
Yeah, but I just like to believe that this was set like a couple years later. Like maybe when maybe
He went off
a
and
bit
just
before.
designed a
I don't
digital
know.
mind control device, and
I don't
that's what
know.
Yggdrasil helped him do. Is that what you're trying to explain here?
Well, there's also must be enough time between when he gets when he gives the design device to Satsuma and Yoshima, right?
I mean, you'd think so.
Because Kurata must have seen those designs and created his own Digivice off that.
Yes.
So that must have to be a certain amount of time between Suguru setting the designs and Kurata designing his own Digivice to use the Gizmon with.
I would wonder, in the flashback from the Scarfmon, talking about the captain, like, and they'd have those flashbacks to being like, oh yeah, we were the original Dats, etc., etc.
Yeah.
That was like right after this. Did they have Digivices in this flashback? I think they might have.
I think they did, yes.
But that would have been like the next week after the Expedition Force came back
Not
home.
necessarily. It could have been like maybe a year.
Maybe.
'Cause
But it
we
really
don't actually
restricts
know.
the time period for this to have happened.
But it was enough for them to have Kamimon and Kudamon sent over, the Digivices sent over, and them sort of to know. In those flashbacks, they could have just been more experienced. We don't know what their first ever interaction with a Digimon that they were trying to send back. It could have just been with force. Like, it could have just been Satsuma punching one or maybe even shooting it.
Maybe.
Like, we don't know what would happen if you shot a pistol at a Digimon.
We do. It doesn't do anything.
In the show, have we seen it happen?
Kurata did it.
Maybe he just missed. Like, it is possible that he was just a bad shot.
You could just assume whatever you want.
So Marukimon says that he's always wondered and worried what world Akuta fits better in, and now he realizes that doubt was wrong, and he shouldn't have to choose between these worlds because he can just be both.
I was like thinking he's going to say it was definitely the digital world.
Yeah, because look at these humans, they're trash.
They are.
Kurata says that Masaru is like his dad, and Kurata had told Suguru, and we get a flashback, that he should annihilate all the Digimon,
This
and Suguru
flashback is
disagreed.
hilarious.
I liked it.
Well, think about what's happening here, right? Even if we assume that eventually Kurata gets in a position like the one he's in, where he can manage this.
Yeah.
So what Science Man is saying is he's telling he's like a graduate, I guess. He's a junior scientist working with a professor.
Mm-hmm.
They're on a peaceful expedition, and he thinks it is crazy that the leader of this peaceful expedition wouldn't take the advice of one guy to commit genocide in a foreign universe where they're not really sure what's going on.
I don't even think Suguru is the leader of the group. I think it's definitely Satsuma or Yoshima because they are part of the police force.
So he's not even trying to convince the leader of the expedition.
No.
He's just trying to convince one dude. And because that one guy thinks, you know what, maybe we should think about this a little bit longer. He's like, how dare you not want to murder everything?
So then Suguru says that Kurata was a coward. And
Clearly.
And in the same moment, Masaru says that Kurata's a coward. And he's like, you're just like him. I also would like to point out that Suguru lowering Kurata's gun in his hand is removed. But for some reason, Kurata waving the gun in the air remains.
Because he's not trying to point it at anyone. He's not being scary with it.
I know he's waving it around, but I feel like Suguru lowering it and saying no violence, no more shooting. Like that was removed, but waving the gun's fine. I feel like waving the gun is more like a madman move.
How could you say no more shooting if there was no shooting to begin with? Huh?
But the dub left that bit.
No,
in,
that didn't
so-
happen. None of that happened.
As I mentioned, like, this episode is just, like, not too great with the consistency of moved clips. Like, okay, cut out the gun, or just leave the gun in.
Thanks,
Not just, you
Nimoy.
can't have both.
So Gizmon evolves, eh? Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And it looks dumb. And then, oh no, now it's even more stronger, and no one even attacking all at once, our ultimate move doesn't do anything. If only we'd done that before.
Murukimon is dying, and Akuta says, look, I hate humans. I've now realized that humans are all the enemy, and I hate humans.
He says that, by the way, literally right after having a flashback to his Digimon saying, don't hate humans. And I kind of love that he goes, I remember when I was told not to hate them. So my conclusion, I hate them.
The thing is, every time we've had this flashback, we've immediately, like 5 seconds later, have Akuto saying, I hate the humans.
Because I always thought that was irony. Like, I thought that his not brainwashing, like his indoctrination since then had overcome the lesson his mom had tried to teach him. But now it is very clear he remembers the lesson and he just doesn't care.
I guess so.
I guess he didn't love her as much as he says he does.
Maybe not.
I don't know.
Murukimon says that Masaru can't be the bad guy. Yeah, sorry, you were saying?
Don't worry about it.
Okay, Akuta thinks of all the humans that were helpful, and he's watching the DATS team lose. Then we get a flashback of Marcus and Keenan in the bath, and I would like to point out that this is previously used footage from episode 22, which, by the way, is still the best episode of Savers, I'm pretty sure. And it's the scene where Keenan and Marcus are talking. Keenan's like, "Is it okay that I'm here?" And we get like a shot of Marcus's back, which, by the way, was cut out of episode 22, but was left in this episode.
Yeah, sure. We need to fill the time.
It's just like, why would you cut it in one place but not cut it in another place? It's just, I don't know, it's really annoying.
It looks like they did more work. They made new animation, man. Look at that.
I don't know, just like, it's weird. Like, why would you cut here but not here?
It'd be way funnier if they cut to like Chico or whatever and they didn't randomly add the towel.
Yeah.
Like it was like they were playing old footage but they didn't edit it.
Or the clip where we have Chica throwing Ikuto into the bath.
Whoop.
Whoop!
No, because that's just adding it back in, right?
Yeah.
No, if they'd added underwear to him in that scene and then they added it here now and he wasn't wearing it, that would be the
okay,
same.
no, I see your point.
So Mikuromon has to be the one to argue Ikuto back into not hating all humans.
Yeah.
And you start to think, I'm not sure this guy is ideologically consistent. I'm not really sure he knows what he's on about.
I think Murukimon's learnt now. I think he's finally said, look, I was wrong to think that Suguru actually had turned his back on us.
He learned 10
It's just Kurata,
years ago.
yes.
And if he was like friends with Suguru enough, I thought like if he met him only once, maybe he could think, okay, he turned on me. But if they were like friends for years, I can't believe it.
Murukimon then tells Akuto to live with as a human with a Digimon heart. And this is like a beautiful moment. Then Murukimon runs and starts fighting Gizmon, and his data is all disintegrating and is being deleted.
Well, he does one big punch.
Yeah,
and
then
he gets hit with a big blasty blast.
So Gizmon, fires a laser and finishes him off. Also, I just want to mention that in the dub, there was a bit of editing done in this part. So the beam is completely edited out. And it's not just like when we had with Frigimon when we had the flashback of Frigimon dying. And just like we had the beam going in, but not going out.
Yeah.
This beam was just completely removed.
Don't worry about it, he still died.
Like, we just see him, like, going, ah! And there's no beam going in or out. So just like, he just looks like he's screaming. And it's this point I realised that, yes, while I keep on complaining about this episode in particular with the really weird cutting inconsistencies or really weird choices of editing that they want to do, the music in this episode is really good.
I literally never noticed the music.
See, I noticed the music was like, it's very good for playing up your emotions. I guess because since you said that you didn't really care about this episode.
Oh boy, did I not.
See, because I actually cared about the relationships and the characters, it was really emotional because it goes from like, really dramatic and it's like, oh yeah, they're fighting. It's really good fighting music. And then it'll go to like this really like dramatic emotional moment when Murukimon's like sacrificing himself, and it goes to this sort of cool dramatic music when he's just all like, remember, you are a human with a Digimon heart and live that way. And then he basically punches and uses his last bit of energy and dies.
The next line really kills me.
What was the next line?
Not the next line exactly, but really, really soon after this, they're talking about humans and Digimon living in harmony. Like, I think that we can do this. And once again, think about Kurata's like motivation here. He thinks Digimon are very scary and he's afraid of them, right?
Yes.
That's if his whole motivation is I need to kill them because I am personally afraid of them. The fact that his response to Digimon and humans living in harmony is evil cackling. Haha, what an absurd notion! Harmony, that's stupid! Wouldn't his opinion, even if he thinks it wouldn't happen, wouldn't be that it's funny. He wouldn't be laughing at you. You'd think that the idea would make him anxious or something, right? It'd be like, there's no way that could happen. Like, he would be nervous because that challenges his ideals. Not, hey, that's dumb. Why is he reacting this way? I can't figure it out. Because even if I accept everything you've said about him thus far, and let's pretend it all makes sense, and he's an amazing orator even though he's visibly crazy, and he truly believes in murdering all Digimon ever because he was kind of spooked out by one once. Why would the idea of peace be funny? Would it be laughable? You are stupid for thinking peace is even an option? And I think that's really hilarious.
Right.
How could that fit in? I think you've done a fairly good job of at least justifying, and I don't think I've been convinced, but I think you've done a good job of saying the pieces are here and they might fit together. Can this last piece here even possibly fit into this puzzle?
I just think that if we just say he's deranged and just doesn't make a lot of sense. Necessarily.
I just think you can't have someone who is deranged and doesn't make a lot of sense, and yet also he's really convincing and everyone believes him.
Okay, I hate to get political again, but also Donald Trump.
Okay.
Like, the majority of things that Donald Trump says are just like, looks like something that like, oh, this wacky cartoon character is saying. And I'm sorry if any of our listeners like him, but like sometimes he does say things that don't necessarily sound like 100% like accurate.
No, but you can understand when you think about him for like 6 seconds why he resonates with people. You can understand because he's saying things that are really simple and really straightforward about things that are really complicated and people get really bored by them.
So arguably, you could say the same about Kurata.
No,
Kurata's saying things like, these Digimon are threatening our way of life. These Digimon are awful and trying to kill us. We need to get rid of them, and we need to actually remove them because whoever's working at the moment, like the DATs, aren't doing a good enough job, and we have to step in.
And those all sound perfectly reasonable, right? And that's what I'm saying. I can buy your point, maybe, that he is a good enough speaker that people will believe him. But now we've also just established he's a cackling, deranged madman. And everyone seems to know that as well. He can't be both.
I think he can.
As much as the current president of the United States says a lot of stupid stuff, he's not standing at stands literally like, ha 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 ha, world peace, who would want that? He's not doing
Literally, I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we're watching the news and Donald Trump says exactly that. Like,
okay.
let's be real.
Okay, I have a lot of really negative opinions, and I think it would be really funny, and maybe I wouldn't be amazingly surprised, but that's not the world we live in. That didn't happen, okay?
Digimon aren't real, okay?
Okay, none
Sadly.
of this is real. But you know what? The point of a fictional story is to draw you in and make you kind of like suspend your disbelief, you know? To have something that is entertaining.
I think the fact that Kurata seems to have like these manic episodes of like almost being like maybe like a reasonable-ish human, like, oh yeah, well, if we work alongside, we'll let the Digimon live.
Do you know, I would be on board with this if he didn't have all his like soldiers around him to report back on everything he has said. I would be cool with Kurata acting this way if he only ever did it around the kids. Like, he let it out when he knew that they were all powerless to stop him because he's the adult, and you could build a whole story around this. You could build a story of, these are children, and even though they're working in this government, whatever, no one believes them because they're the kids, and it's this here. But he's going up against the captain and this entire organization, and one guy destabilizes all of DATS by talking and no one doing any investigation. No one even checks into what he has to say. They all just believe him instantly. And
alternatively,
he's just magic.
Yeah, but what if they are also maybe intimidated by him because he's pretty crazy and pretty smart, and
does the minister seem intimidated by him? He seemed convinced because the minister's an idiot.
I meant like his own men might be a little bit intimidated by him.
They've never shown that at all. So
they don't seem to have characters, to be fair.
No, yeah, they're not.
They're his men.
But they don't say anything ever. And so you can't draw those conclusions. The only thing you can draw out of this show, from what it has shown you, is that he is magic.
Yes.
And I don't think that's, like, at the end of the day, Digimon is a science fiction show.
Yes.
It's weird, right? Because it seems fantasy and magic kind of happens, but it's clearly science fiction. And once you actually introduce magic into your science fiction, all of a sudden the science fiction element is really stupid, because why does any of that matter? I don't know. I think he's meant to raise the stakes by being the antagonist, but I think that he removes all the stakes because nothing he does is believable.
Yeah, no. I see your point there. But I still, like, I don't feel like he's badly written. I feel like we're meant to feel like this is a manic character. One minute he's, like, you know, being really intelligent, being really, like, really chill, like, oh, well, I guess I lost here. Okay, Marcus, you can have the kid. Like, I feel like he's goes from, like, being chill to being a cackling maniac.
And I get that. But the problem is that if that's the impression we are meant to get, that's the impression everyone in the show is meant to have as well. And if they did have that, he wouldn't be as successful as he is in the spheres that he is acting in, is what I'm trying to say. He can't be both. He is diametrically opposite. He's presented in two completely different ways. We're meant to believe both of them, and they're both meant to work. But they can't.
I do agree with you on one thing part, though. I think it would be better if, you know, the men, he said, okay, men, go scour the perimeter or whatever, because that's a term that people use in anime.
Close enough.
And then he cracks.
Absolutely.
And then he goes like, ha ha ha, what foolish people to ever believe that Digimon were these things that we could work along with. Ha ha ha, I will kill everyone. Ha ha, crazy hair, crazy eyes.
Outer layer, smooth operator, inner layer, crazy dude, I'd be on board. That's fine. That's a cool, that's interesting.
And I agree with that. I think that would be much better.
But if he's like on one hand, if he's kind of I don't want to throw people under the bus. If he's these two wildly swinging personalities here, where one's crazy and one's smooth, he can't hide that, and he's got witnesses. And there's the bad guy from My Hero Academia is like that, but you can tell he's not in a position of trust and authority because he's like this.
Yeah, he's also a villain.
Exactly.
Like this guy's not trying to be appear to be a villain to the other humans.
This guy somehow thinks he's doing the right thing, and so does everyone else.
Yeah, I mean you can also say that Kurata thinks it is in the right.
No, but he thinks it's in the right, but it's genocide, and it's 2005.
Yeah, I mean, like, usually when people use the term genocide, they're probably not nice people.
Exactly.
Like, I want to kill everyone.
In fact, let's rewind that a little bit. Actually, no one who commits genocide uses that term. The Turkish, to this day, refuse to believe that they even committed one.
Whoa.
Because you know about the Armenian genocide,
yeah?
Well, they say, that didn't happen. What are you talking about? That's like the Turkish state line. It didn't happen. They moved there on their own. Over 1 million of them died, but that wasn't us.
Yeah.
Because people who commit genocide don't talk about it.
No, you're right. The people who commit genocides don't actually say, I'm going to commit genocide. It's usually like, I hate this word, but the word that's like a fresher way of saying genocide is ethnic cleansing. Because cleansing, that sounds good, right?
Yeah,
the word cleanse, it's like, oh, it's refreshing.
that term has long since gotten past the marketing value.
I know, no, it's, but now if you say, just like, well, you're probably racist. Or, horrible in some way. But I feel like, a long time ago, ethnic cleansing was like, this light way of saying, I'm going to commit, like, this mass genocide.
So, because there's, like, a scene that needed to happen here for everyone to sort of believe Kurata as a bad guy who could get anything done here. And that is, I'm going to commit genocide on the Digimon. One of his soldiers turns and goes, what? And Kurata shoots him with a gun, right?
Oh,
and the guy just dies. And then all the other soldiers say, oh, what the hell? You can't just... And they turn with their guns and they try to shoot him and the guns don't work. And he goes, I programmed them not to shoot me. Like... all of those things work because he's the science man who designed these things. That makes sense of the position he's put himself into.
And also, I think that would be a good part because it would also show his men to be intimidated by him. Like, they can't hurt him, but he can hurt them. So you have to obey him at this point, like you're in too deep.
That, or at some point we find out that they are robots.
Yes, that could work too. I don't remember if that is the case.
I'm sure they're not.
Yeah, but the thing is, I also don't think the death of a human will ever be explicitly shown in a Digimon show, like except for family members off screens, like, oh yeah, she died of she was hit by a bus and then she died afterwards. I still think that a bunch of soldiers died in that first exposition that Kurata had. A couple of episodes ago, there were Terramon and Beaumont blowing up buildings.
No.
People definitely
died. That's different. That was public.
Yeah.
That was public and everyone sort of knew about that. I mean, like, Kurata, who apparently is so smooth he can convince anyone of anything, got soldiers into the digital world and then left them behind.
Yes.
And no one ever asked any questions about it.
Yes. I feel like a lot of humans have died in Savers, but I don't think that any people will actually be shown to be killed, like, straight on camera. Like, implied in the background, like, oh yeah, a building blew up, there were people inside it.
How come the Ministry of Confidentiality didn't come after Kurata for unauthorized use of a portal?
I don't know. What do we know did they know that he did the portal?
Well, they knew about the one that the Criers used, this time around, like,
Yeah.
instantly.
With the Kurata portal.
Well, if they somehow knew about the cryers when it activated, they could detect when it activated. How could they not detect Kuratas?
Maybe they couldn't because this was like, 5 or 6 years ago and they didn't have that technology back then.
Well, we could just shrug at anything in the
we,
story.
We know that they didn't do it, have it 10 years ago because they didn't even know the digital world existed at that point.
Yeah.
And we had the cryers portal activate then.
I don't know. It feels like there are a lot of moving parts in this, but a lot of them don't move together.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can complain forever.
I know you can. That's why we have the podcast.
So Science Man is a big weirdo, and then Yakuja's like, I'll get you, and evolves his thing into Yatagaramon, which is also Crowmon.
Yeah, and just called like, let's simple it down.
Well,
what is
crow.
it? It's a crow. All right.
It looks fine.
Crowmon.
Cool. And then Ikuto, in the most hilarious thing, just goes, you know what I hate? It turns out I didn't hate humans. I just hated evil people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, I love this.
What a character moment.
So,
he realized that he hates evil people.
Sorry, this is great. He says evil hearts, and that's fine. He goes from saying, look, I hate all evil humans, and he's like, wait, no, I just hate evil humans. It's fine.
It's so weird because I just can't put myself in here where, like, no one can tell the difference between any Digimon or any human. If one thing from one species does something bad, it represents literally all of them. A human says something mean to me, now I hate all humans.
I'm doing a Wormon voice.
Turns out that if there are bad people, you can just hate the bad ones. Wow. 25 episodes for that conclusion.
I think it's fine.
Oh, it's just, I mean, he's 10, so whatever.
In the dub, Crowmon attacks with English language attacks. In the original version, it's just like Japanese cultural attacks, which is like, that's a fine change. Like, it always is a change. Like, they're using Japanese moves. They change it to an English one. That's fine. Then Yatagaramon finishes off Gizmon, which becomes a Digi-Egg.
Why isn't it a Robo-Egg?
I don't know. That'd look pretty cool. I mean, we have those human-made Digivices. I feel like we should have human-made Digi-Eggs. But I don't know. So Kurata escapes, and then the next scene we see Kurata's working on something that's in a tank. What do you think the thing is in a tank? Because we kind of like get a small silhouette of it, and I know what
it's a Robo Metroid.
I know what it looks like because I know what it looks like. It's very cool.
It probably looks like a robot. I don't know.
It looks very cool. I think you'll like the design. I don't know. I feel like you'd like it. What do you think of this episode as someone who is new to Digimon?
I didn't like it. I don't like the story because I don't believe it.
See, I liked it.
I think that it could be done well, but it's consistently done badly.
What rating did you give it?
4.
I gave it a 7.
That's probably
like, it was pretty solid for like it was a big fighting episode, and we were able to talk about this fighting episode for quite a while. But I
was just talking about how much I hate Kurata's character.
Also, I forgot to mention when we were at the end of the episode, but we have a new ending theme, and they've added, like, it's not just Masaru running anymore, there's, like, other people there too, and it's a really good ending, and it makes me happy. It's just so, like, relaxed, and they're all, like, coming to see Akuto, and it's really cute, because I guess he's part of the group now, because he realizes he doesn't hate humans. It's great, and I like this episode. It was fine. How did it compare to your predictions in Obnoxious Synopsis? If you can remember, I guess. Or do you have your notes?
I mean, I have to go get them.
So you thought that Akuto would evolve Pekmon.
Called that.
And he said to beat Gizmon.
Called that.
He accepts himself to be a Digimon.
Digimon Heart. It was close.
And you said that Kurata would annoy you. And everything Kurata says...
Oh, that was so accurate. I'm the best.
You said it wouldn't be a good episode. You said you'd give it a 5, which was incorrect. You gave it a 4.
It's true.
And you said it was not going to be filler. Which is true. It's not filler.
Yeah. The next one kind of is, which I think I also call.
It's filler, but I feel like it's like... I don't know, it explains some things, but I guess we'll get to that. So what was the major difference you noticed?
So, there's a few, but honestly, I just think it's the reframing of Mercurium being like, yeah, I always thought that humans and Digimon could work together. Like, no, you didn't. Don't lie.
You thought that for 2 weeks, but then you went on to hating them. Or maybe 5 years, depending on like how that all worked out. I feel like the episode would be better if, yes, we had the scene of Kurata being like manic to the kids, but fine to everyone else. And if we had any sort of like timeline between Suguru talking to Marukimon, giving him the Digivice and giving Dats the Digivices, like what timing is there then?
Just timestamp your flashbacks like they do in comic books. 2
or
years earlier.
In anime in general, like we've had like 1 week later. In the next episode, we have 1 week later.
No, but that's always just skips forward in the main thing. But I mean, like, in flashbacks and comic book, you always have in the top left just like two years earlier.
Yeah, like I would just like some timestamps because I need to know the time frame of how this worked out. But because people don't change clothes in the digital world, we don't know how long it's been. I mean, would it be good if, like, all of a sudden he had, like, a beard? Because, like, he's been there for a while and he can't shave. But, like, hair doesn't probably grow in the digital world.
Unless you believe it does, maybe?
Maybe. Digital world's weird. And my main differences were the consistencies in the cutting, honestly.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't bother me.
I know, just, like
it doesn't change the story at all. It's just, they add some visuals. It doesn't change what you're being told.
No, but they... Okay, I see your point. Yes,
that's what I always think of the big differences, because you know with the music, and I go, that doesn't mean anything. If you're going to watch if you're going to watch the Japanese, right, and then you're going to watch the English, what are the differences in the sense that you came out of watching the English with a different story? And in this case, I think it's Kurama being like, I was always on your side. Don't worry about it. Yeah, believe me. I literally said in the other episodes that all humans are evil, but no, now I always believe they were good.
I still think the English dub really, like, went past their budget with the music, because it was just the music was really good in this episode. I'm not sure if I just haven't been paying attention in previous weeks, but it's really good in this episode.
I didn't even pay attention to that this week.
It's really good. The second episode starts off with the DATS team arriving, and they all land on each other, and Tom is really casual, and he's saying, oh, okay, well, we're home now, and he gets yelled at for being casual. In the dub, Marcus says they need a bigger digital dive, and he doesn't respond at all to Thomas being so like, yes, we're home now, or casual, and I preferred that when he yelled at him for being casual. Nobody's at DATS, and then the Ministry of Confidentiality walks in, and he says, look, you were dismissed for treason, Satsuma's been arrested, and they all get memory wiped.
Okay, so let's have the whole conversation where I had with you before the show began. So, step 1, treason's not a thing that they have in Japan. That's just not a charge that you can do. There is, the word for it is gaikanzai, which is crime of foreign mischief.
That sounds naughty.
However, that only applies to, other countries and people and foreign powers. I don't think that Japan's laws actually extend to digital monsters in other dimensions. I don't think that legislation exists, so I'm not sure that treason would apply to them. Second, let's be real, you would never be dismissed for treason. Treason's not a reason to fire someone from a job. You arrest them for treason.
Well, Satsuma's been arrested for treason.
No, he's been arrested, in the English at least, for high treason.
Ooh.
Which is something I'm sure they added in for emphasis, but I think they don't know what that means. High treason is crimes against the king, or in Japan, against the emperor. But I had a conversation with you. Where does Digimon Sabers take place clearly in the English version?
I don't know.
Okay, well, you said it's not Japan.
It's not Japan because they have pretty much removed any sort of, like, reference to Japan, unless they've mentioned Japan and I've just missed it.
I don't think I've noticed it.
It's not like in Adventure when they said, okay, well, we're zooming in on Japan, we have to say Japan now, I guess. Our home. And in Frontier, when they said, I'm pretty sure in Frontier they actually said Shibuya, and they said Tokyo in Frontier. And in Tamers, they said Shinjuku and Tokyo, I'm pretty sure. In this, they just haven't mentioned it, and they've removed all Japanese from signs and replaced it with English in the signs. So I don't think it's meant to be Japan in the English version.
Because, for it to actually be high treason, their actions would have to have been directed against the emperor.
Yeah.
Who, I understand, exists. They do. They're just in, a cool house somewhere, having no authority whatsoever.
Seems like a cool job. What's your job? I have a house and I sit in it.
Yeah, exactly.
People respect me.
Because there was a high treason case, kind of. You call it that because it's colloquial, even though, again, it's Gaikanzai. But that was in 1910, and that was mostly an excuse to round up anarchists, because Japan.
Yeah. Also, 1910, that's over 100 years ago.
Yes, it was. I did a bunch of research on this, because I immediately went, does Japan even have treason? And they do not! And you know what? There is no world in which you're being accused of treason. We're going to memory wipe you and just let you go home.
We can also say that this is an alternate universe where things work differently.
Okay. Well, you could say that about everything. Mm-hmm. So why does anything matter?
Because I didn't really look into all the semantics of treason and the wording. I was just like, okay, that seems reasonable.
What if eggs taste like cherries? Who cares about any...
They do in the digital world, probably.
So, what you're saying is that in the next episode, Masaru could just grow wings and say, "Oh, finally they grew in! Oh man, I've been waiting for this."
Yeah, but what I'm saying is...
So no, there are no rules.
I don't feel like they expect the viewer to Google it and know what treason is.
No, I expect
didn't.
that they don't know.
I was just like, oh yeah, okay, that's reasonable. I'm fine with that.
What I'm
like a
saying is-
treason? Alright, that's something
I
you
think
get
that
punished
they're
for.
just throwing words around because they don't care.
Probably. Sounds good though.
If they think that you committed a crime that you could be arrested for, why would they memory wipe you and send you home? It doesn't even matter what you committed. Treason's just an example.
Sounds serious though. They said treason, that's serious.
Okay.
It's okay. They've said we are arresting you for being naughty.
Let me ask you a really serious question. Because, let's put all this treason stuff aside, because that's just me in the law capacity being interested. Why did they memory wipe these kids?
Because
what is
they knew
the
too much.
effect of memory wiping them?
So they wouldn't tell people about the Digimon. And they're dismissing them and say, well, we can't have civilians walking around knowing about Digimon, so we're wiping your mind.
Okay, so you're saying that civilians don't know about Digimon?
Yes, they get
After
mind
that
wiped.
broad attack by the Terramon and the...
I feel like they know too much about the specifics of Digimon, and they need to just go back to Digimon. Like there are monsters that are attacking, but that's all they know, and they don't want to know the actual in-depth reasoning of what's happening.
Because it seemed to me, I've read this in the English one, although I don't know about it in the Japanese, if I can't remember it correctly. When Kurata is announced as the assistant director of national security, they talk about he's entrusted with mankind's safety. Like, they're talking about Digimon on the news. There's no secrets that these guys know that are like public. Like, Digimon exists. That's it. What's the point of memory wiping them? And if we know that you can memory wipe really specific stuff, just memory wipe the past day. Then they'll go back to being good employees.
No, that's fair. No, you're right.
These guys are idiots.
Maybe you can only remove their memory of Digimon.
You know what would be really good?
What?
Is if Kurata's entire craziness and even Masaru would be able to ask, hey, why is he able to do this? Like the soldiers, whatever, and he just like memory wiped them so many times. Like he's either he's brainwashed them that way, or
he's made them go insane.
He's been doing that to the Minister of Confidentiality. That's why he's an idiot. These would all be really interesting if he's been abusing this weird technology.
That would be interesting.
Which is
right.
otherwise just clearly a plot device.
Yeah. Oh no, it is a plot device, but it is better than saying, we'll just tell them something. We'll just tell them terror attack probably.
But they have been doing that.
Yes, but they've also okay, you directly were involved with Digimon, we have to wipe your mind. See, I think
it was a movie stunt, May.
Yes, but it is a more believable plot device than just humans are just stupid and we'll just tell them something. I'm like, oh yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, but they have done that.
Also, I'll just say this now while it's fresh in my mind, but there's a moment when the Digimon in this episode are running around trying to find their partners, and in the dub, they edit in someone in the background they're running past saying, oh, is it Halloween already? Because I'm like, oh, well, I guess...
Work at DATS!
What?
They're in the DATS building, aren't they?
No, when they're running around Tokyo.
Oh, right.
Well, not
okay.
Tokyo. I forgot what it's called. Starts with a Y. Yokoshima?
Heightened View Terrace.
Yeah, Heightened View Shima. But no, I just thought that was a cute moment. So yeah, we get a scene where Masaru is on a bench and he's in different clothes, and we later see that all the characters are in different clothes. And as I mentioned, as of the last episode, we have a new ending song, and they're all in these clothes. So these are kind of like the second half of Saber's clothing swap. Because we can't just have them in the same clothes. Like, they've been in two outfits. They've been in their DATS uniform, and they've been in their everyday clothes. That's basically the outfits we've seen them in. And now we get another pair of clothing, because maybe the seasons have changed. And it's fine. It's better than Adventure, where we saw them, oh, they're in the human world now. Did they get changed? No. Still wearing the same outfit.
They like those clothes, okay?
They really Taichi really likes that shirt. It's a cool shirt, to be fair.
The Digimon are all in, this glass cage, I guess.
Yeah.
Which, I guess I'll say it now, it turns out that leaving a bunch of living weapons in a glass box, not a great idea. It doesn't actually,
Well, they can't break out of the glass, and they can't set fire to the glass, so they probably thought that was a good idea.
They just open the door and walk in. Okay,
no, that's stupid. But if they just left them there, they wouldn't have been able to get out.
Hey, here's a question. Why did they go in?
Because there's smoke and what's going on there?
Yeah, but...
Must be shifty.
If it ends up with all the Digimon dying, isn't that ideal for the people who are trying to commit genocide?
I think that Kurata wants to use them for research.
He doesn't say that. You assume a lot of stuff.
Alternatively, they need to be there because the script says that they reunite in this episode.
There it is. Usually I can back you into saying it was a script, way faster than I can in Savers. I feel like you're really, no, it's definitely these reasons they never told us.
Because no, I feel like Savers is just a lot better than the other parts of Digimon. Like in Savers, it is easier to argue. Oh, but this might be the reason why it makes sense.
I think that goes back to what I said. There are a lot of moving parts. They just don't move together, and so you can say, oh yeah, research is being done, and also there's this. They're in cages, so maybe they're related, but they don't say anything about it, and they never say anything about it, and they don't show you anything. So it's left to you to make these assumptions, which is just bad storytelling.
Speaking of bad storytelling, and this is something that actually kind of annoyed me a little bit, we have the Digimon talking, and we have Kurama saying, yeah, Satsuma and I always sort of like were a bit suspicious over Kurata, and we all suspected him. I'm like, well...
But you didn't do anything!
Good job, Captain of the Dats, for doing everything you could. He just stood there, I'm like, oh, he guess he's here now.
I love how he's like, yeah, we knew. Why do you sound proud?
Like, okay, you're proud of, like, this guy who clearly came in and killed a bunch of Digimon and effectively caused this. Like, yes, he doesn't say we knew it was him. They were just like, well, we suspected him. You're just like, well, shouldn't you have been a bit more wary about him?
If his tone was a bit different, like it was ashamed, you'd be like, oh, okay. He's saying I should have seen it, right? He's like, no, we knew. Yeah, we just, we never did
That's
anything.
the problem with Kuramon, because he kind of just says everything sort of matter-of-factly, like, oh, we always suspected him. Like, well, thanks. Falcomon's conflicted, and he's thinking about how evil humans are. And Agumon says that it's Kurata who is evil, and then Galmon puts his entire glove in Agumon's mouth and says, it's time for you to be quiet now. It's like, this is a great moment, just like, harm.
Is this an apple?
It's an apple.
Is this a pigeon?
It is a pigeon.
Is this a traumatic memory?
Kuramon explains that the barrier has been weakened, and the digital world is a world that's on top of the earth. And this is sort of like the same sort of thing in Adventure, how the digital world is just straight on top of the earth. Like, it's sort of mapped out. It's the networks in Earth.
Okay, so speaking of
It's
which,
very big.
Think of something you said earlier in this very show.
And I literally referenced that it is big as the Earth.
Okay, but you think it has a couple thousand people living in it, all in the one place?
Well, Digimon, not people, but I feel like it's not as highly populated. And I said that at the start of the episode. I said it is not as highly populated as the Earth. It is the size of the Earth, but it doesn't have that many Digimon.
So,
and then I also remember saying that Kurata might not have just thought this through very well.
Okay, well that's my point on it. I'm just saying, like, is the theory of it not being populated means there might be maximum like 10,000 Digimon in a space about as big as London.
Yes, and it would be very hard to find
them. And then literally the rest of the Earth is empty.
Yes. It is weird.
Does that seem at all likely to you?
Alternatively, it's that many Digimon over the entire Earth, which would be very hard to find them all. Like, they could hide easily.
You would never see any Digimon ever next to each other.
Definitely not. No, I see what you mean. I think I said that anyway. Galmon says that they've lost their purpose to fight now, and they're just sort of sitting there. Then we see that Masaru's in class, and he's feeling weird. Yoshino is also feeling weird, and so is Toma. And they're all in different clothes, which is nice. Toma's butler brings Toma and someone else a second cup of tea, and he's unsure why. So this sort of explains something that you asked a while back with, I think it was Neon's episode, of everyone else will still remember. What I think the memory wipe does is it actually, like, somehow also wipes the minds of people who have seen what you've seen. So there's no types of, like, hey, remember this thing that happened? No. I think it's... Okay. It also...
that is clearly insane.
Yes, it doesn't make sense.
It is so much more obvious they just went to his house and mind-wiped the butler.
Okay, that too.
I can't believe you think that flashing light in someone's eyes erases memories out of someone else's head.
I just think it would explain the Neon part.
Oh, it would technically explain it, yes, but it would explain it in such a stupid way.
But now you're doing the thing that you told me off for doing, which was saying things that weren't actually shown. Like, we didn't get a scene where they went to Masaru's house and mind-wiped Chika and Sayuri. We didn't get a scene where he went to
you're
the butler's house.
They didn't show that. It is just way more logical that the way the technology works is you must hold it up in front of their face and flash them with it. Because if that was how it worked, like, you could flash Masaru and it would erase the memories out of Toma and Yoshi anyway.
Yeah. Okay, no, good point. Maybe just by extension of, like, shared memories. And Toma doesn't have the same shared memories as Masaru. But Masaru has the same shared memories of Sayuri and Chika to do with Agumon.
But now it's magic.
Yes.
Like,
it's Digimon. Come on, the majority of the show is magic.
If we take
it
as...
is about... it's
science fiction.
Let's hold this thing up to the computer and let's go to the wacky world of adventures.
No, mate, it's science fiction. Science fiction is we are using really, really fake technological concepts and doing a thing. And because it's the whole, like, technology is so advanced, it's indistinguishable from magic, that's one thing, right? But you can't say that the application of this technology, the way it is being shown, mystically takes memories out of someone else's head miles away.
Do you remember that time that Terriermon had to, like, open a vortex by spinning really fast?
Yes, I do.
That was great.
Yes, I do. And that's...
It's physics.
Sure, it's science fiction for you. It's weird.
No, it is very weird. So I also want to point out that, so I guess trying to remember Digimon when you've had memory wipe gives you a migraine. So I get chronic migraines. Does this mean I'm just not being able to remember my Digimon partner?
Well, I don't get those migraines, so either...
You have no relation to it. I must have been keeping it a secret from you, clearly.
Oh, well.
And clearly my boss and my manager also have Digimon at some point, because my boss and manager also suffer from migraines. I'm also an old man, because it seems to be a thing that old middle-aged men do, is they suffer from migraines. So I guess that's a thing. All middle-aged men have Digimon partners and just can't remember them. Logic. Then we get the Digimon again. Galmon's sitting like a dog. I just want to point that out to everyone. He's sitting like a dog. It's great. He's got like his little paws and he's like, sit. It's so cute. Did you see it?
I have a question for you.
Yeah?
Was there ever a time in all of Digimon where Chica was in a room with Agumon and Masaru wasn't there?
Nope.
There was never a time?
Don't think so. We're never shown.
Never once.
Don't think so.
But like they've been living together. There's not one time where she had a conversation that he wasn't part of?
Oh, you don't think so?
I mean, that seems unlikely, doesn't it?
I don't know. But I mean, you're right. It is more possible
Wait,
that,
no, I
that
got
they,
one.
they went to the house, yeah?
Sayuri fed Agumon before Masaru walked into a room once. And he walks in and he goes,
Okay.
oh yeah. And so, if only the memories that they share, which doesn't make sense, right? Because they have memories from different perspectives.
Yeah.
But if only the exact experiences they shared were gotten rid of, she'd still remember who Agumon is.
No, okay. No, I see your point.
It doesn't work.
No, you're right. So it is probably more likely the fact that they went to their house and mind wiped, but we didn't get a scene that said that.
Well, we know that Dat is comfortable breaking into people's houses to do experiments.
Yeah, you're
on
right.
them.
That's a horrible.
So, like, you can put all the pieces together and say, while this is not necessarily what happened, it is the most logical thing with the information in front of us. Which is different from why they're keeping them in this room. It could be any number of reasons. To experiment on them might be a logical conclusion, but it's not clearly the only logical conclusion there. And there's no suggestion one way or the other.
No, I see your point. Agumon says that he doesn't care that Masaru was fired, and he says that Masaru has always liked him for him, and the bond will never be broken, even when they were fighting. And Lalamon says that she has a strong bond too, and Galmon says that his bond is unbeatable, and everyone else feels it too.
What a great clip show we have.
This episode is very much a clip show, and I wanted to mention this in Obnoxious Synopsis, because I didn't want to spoil anything, but we were talking about how the recap episode of Atmon could have been done as a clip show.
Yeah.
For example, from the eyes of May Hunter J.
Oh, that would have been so good!
But I feel like this is also like a sort of alternate to the recap. We sort of get like the meeting points of the Digimon and the human and why they're important to each other. And we have like the big character moments. We have the boxing episode with Toma, and Galmon says, boxing is really important to Toma, and anyone who soils this must be punished. And we have Yoshino have the flashback with the piano. We have how Masaru and Agumon met by punching each other. It is actually quite an okay clip show.
I thought, like, I don't know. It does too little to establish what they're trying to establish,
Yeah.
and it does too much because it was boring. I don't know. I guess it wasn't. I didn't really appreciate it because I don't. Everyone sort of. I know it's from 2005, so the things hadn't progressed as much then. But
Also,
I think,
can I point out that it's episode 26, and that's the same episode of Atmon that we got the recap?
sure. I think everyone's a bit
recap
over
time.
clip shows being literally like, remember that time, and they're just showing you that time because we
we
do.
I think we mentioned that in Obnoxious Synopsis.
We do remember.
I'm pretty sure, unless we
Yeah.
mentioned it afterwards.
So then Agumon's like, guys, I got this. I could break us out. Don't worry about it.
No, just before that, sorry, I just want to say that Galmon's like, well, let's remind them. I like how it's his idea. It's not just like, oh, it's Agumon's idea again. It's someone else's idea.
Well, Agumon's an idiot.
And then Kudamon says, look, if we escape, we're going to be called traitors. And then they all say, well, we still want to leave. And Kudamon's like,
They're
okay,
already called traitors. Well, wait, who would call them traitors?
Dats.
Doesn't exist because everyone involved has been arrested.
The Ministry of Confidentiality.
Ministry of Confidentiality thinks that Digimon are all evil, so they don't
Okay.
think Digimon are on their side to begin with.
Yeah, but it sounds dramatic.
Okay, yeah. Also, treason means you are a traitor. That's kind of where that comes
Yeah.
from.
No, I know that much.
Which means they think that Masaru is one. They
Yeah.
know, they definitely think that Satsuma is one because they've arrested him.
And the Digimon are just evil.
yeah, so
Yeah.
they're in no danger of being seen in any bad way here because they already are.
Agumon uses Baby Burner and fills the whole room with smoke so they can get out. Lalamon helps too by singing a song and putting the guards who run in to sleep. Then they all grab the Digivices.
They run in. Why would they bother?
It is stupid, but I think maybe for some reason they want to keep them alive. Galmon tells Agumon to try considering the situation first, and Agumon says, "Who cares? I wanted to get out." In the dub, it's beautiful.
Next time you act, use your head.
I did use my head. Where do you think the fire came from?
Stop your quarreling. Let's go.
It's great. Falcomon gets Akuto, and then the Pawn Chessmon get Mickey and Megumi. And I guess we can say, like, those that were DATs were arrested, but the main characters were memory wiped. It's sort of like this. I was trying to work out why, and the best I could come up with, like, the ones who, I guess, had lives for a long time before, and who were only recently added by DATs, were easier just to memory wipe. And as for people who might have been working at DATs for a number of years, had to be put in prison, basically.
I can tell you exactly why these ones are memory wiped and not put in prison.
Because the script said so?
No, actually, I can give you a reasonable story reason.
Okay, let's go.
These are the people who heard the bad guy say about the genocide.
The people that memory wiped, yeah.
Oh, except for Ikuto, so that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, but also he is also I think they probably just want to do studies on Akuto, so they don't need to memory wipe him because they want to study him anyway. Because
the captain and the Mickey and Megumi did not hear that the bad guy's plan is to commit genocide. These three did. So assuming that Kurata has the magic voice that everyone just listens to automatically, if he's like, we should arrest these guys, but we can just memory wipe these guys, whatever. Well, sure, okay. He would know, whatever, I guess. If I'm being as favourable as I could possibly be, even though it doesn't deserve it in any way.
Akuto says that he wants revenge, so he goes to find Kurata.
Oh, an idiot.
And then he evolves Falcomon to Yatagaramon, which surely that would work, right?
I think I wrote down Yatagaramon is back, but it's not his evolution episode, so prepare for him to get punked.
And he does.
And then I go, wow, it's pretty much instant. By the way, did you notice the size of the hallway that Kurata was standing in?
Yeah, it's like a huge bunker.
Okay, no.
So it's bunker, like an airplane
It
thing.
Appears to be like an airplane hangar.
Yeah, hangar,
and
that's
then
the word.
The camera sort of comes down to him, and now it's a regular hallway. Like, it's just a hallway.
I think it might thin out, I'm not sure.
And then but also, think about the door that leads in. Ikuto walks through a regular door. Why would a regular door inside a building lead into an airplane hangar?
No, I feel like the hallway was shown before the airplane hangar, maybe.
There's no airplane hangar. May, what they were doing was there was a problem on the perspective, and his animation was way too small on the hallway.
We also saw silhouettes, and they were in the airplane hangar.
There is no airplane hangar. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just saying that the thing that looks like an airplane hangar has silhouettes of things in it.
I think that you should go back to that thing. It'll be like in Frontier with the feet on the seat in the train.
Yeah.
Where you're sitting in one part, but the weird perspective puts the feet over here.
Yeah.
Look at the scene, and it goes here to here, and you're it goes from.
It could be an animation error.
It looks like Kurata is 5 centimeters tall.
Maybe he is. We don't know how tall he is.
No, but then he becomes normal height and everything normalizes.
It's a miracle.
And then it goes back.
Yeah.
It's animated really badly. I think you'd think it's really funny.
Yeah. No, I kind of want to rewatch that now, and I think I might. Speaking of weird things, and I noticed this in the last episode as well, that when Falcomon evolves, even though when other Digimon in the dub are evolving to perfect, they say Warp Digivolve, Falcomon just says Digivolve.
That's fine.
It's just really weird. I know previously we have just seen, okay, it's Digivolve from a child to adult, and then to adult to perfect in the dub, and then it's only Warp Digivolve when we go from child to ultimate, but now it's Warp Digivolve if you skip any number of steps.
Sure.
And then we see some silhouettes, and they fight Akuto, and Akuto loses. And then this is the part where we see the Digimon running through the town, and we get this one man in the dub say something about Halloween, which, I don't know, I just felt it I found it charming for some reason.
You're allowed.
Tom is boxing, and he's looking at his gloves, and Galmon shows up, and it's this really cute moment, and Galmon just whoever did the art for this episode seems to like dogs, because they gave Galmon more these mannerisms of a dog more in this episode than any other episode.
Are you saying that Galmon's a dog?
Yes. Well, he is.
Well, surprise.
I know you said he was a bear at some point.
He
when
looked a bit
you
like a
first
bear.
saw him, yeah, he's a bear. He's a dog. But previously, it's just been okay, he is a dog-like creature.
He looks like Bearmon to me.
He's okay. I see your point. Because he's standing upright, But in this episode, he has the mannerisms of a dog.
Yeah.
He's like sitting like a dog with his like legs out and his front paws on the ground. And when he runs in to see Toma, he's like mouth's hanging open. He's Mr. Peanut Butter in
There's
this
every
episode.
possibility he doesn't have paws, and his paw, or the things that are his paws, look exactly like boxing gloves.
Well, we don't actually know if he can take them off.
No, the only creature that seems to be able to do that is
Talmon,
Gatomon.
yeah. Same with, haven't seen Togemon do it either.
Togemon probably can't.
Like, I want to see what they look like without it. Like, are they just like... What if they're just like really creepy Yowai hands?
This big human hands.
Like, that'd be
Like
that's horror.
Like
that is horror material.
Like a Sonic character with no gloves on.
People have seen that before. I've never seen
Yeah,
that.
in you can actually see it whenever you want. In Sonic Forces, the new one that's coming out, there's all these DLC like costumes and stuff, and there's one for Persona 5. And the Persona 5 one is he's dressed like Joker with the mask and the thing, but he's not wearing any gloves, so he's just got big giant human hands.
I need to I really want to get Sonic Forces. I think it's just because I want to make my own Sonic OC Do Not Steal.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, but I love Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, okay, I love Sonic the Hedgehog, but I haven't played any recent games. Like, I think
you played Sonic.
I know. I was about to say the only recent game I played was Sonic Generations, and that was really good. Oh no, Sonic Mania, that was also good, but Sonic Mania was very retro Sonic.
Can I rewind
That was
for
my
just a
Sonic,
moment
yeah.
to be weird about why has the Persona 5 costume got these big giant human hands, considering Joker, one of his big things is he's wearing red gloves.
Okay.
Why would
You're right. No,
why
I see
would
your
they
point.
remove the gloves? Are you looking this up right now? I want you to look this up.
No, I'm making the show notes. I'll look it up later.
Oh, it's really bad.
No, but but my point is Galmon is just a dog in this episode, and it's so cute. And then we have Yoshino's looking at a piano, and Lalamon shows up. And then Masaru is at the dinner table and saying, "Hey, Mum, you kind of made too much fried eggs." And she's like, "Yeah, I don't know why. I just felt like I could make this much."
The best line is when Chica goes, "Jesus, Mom, pull yourself together."
Wow. I think that was in the dub, right?
No, that was in the original.
Wow. This child, what is your damage? Jeez, Mum, stop cooking so well. She made all these fried eggs, which I guess maybe to when you have a Digimon that, who likes fried eggs, you make that much fried eggs, right? I don't know.
Well, yeah, considering that Agumon walks in and just eats all of them in one bite.
Oh, it's a great scene, though. What I love about Savers is how much Agumon loves Sayuri's food.
Hey, boss, I'm in here now. Oh, eggs sick. Awesome. Eat all that. Nom,
Excellent.
Nom, nom, nom. Thanks, boss. How you doing, boss?
What an extravagant table spread.
Why are you calling me this?
Yeah, and Masaru's just like Chika and Sayuri are kind of weird, who is this dinosaur? And Marcus is who's this frog? I'm gonna punch you.
I'm not a frog, I'm Agumon.
He's so brave. He's just you are coming into my house, you are scaring my sister and mother. I will hurt
migraines.
you. Yeah, you're giving us all migraines. You ate all these eggs, even though there were too many eggs. It's just it's a cute thing.
So Agumon takes Masaru back to where they first fought.
Oh, but
which is interesting.
Before that, Masaru kind of pushes Agumon. And it's this slow motion, it's not like a punch. He pushes him.
And he goes, oh.
It's this really sad moment. It's meant to be emotional. It's really sad. So yeah, then Agumon's I will take you to where you first met. And for some reason, Masaru goes along with him.
Yeah, thank you for it. That was what I was trying to identify. I was why would he go if he doesn't like this frog?
I think he must have said something look, I'll show you something about being a man. And Masaru's oh, being a man, you say? Or I'll show you where things fight. Ooh, fighting, you say?
Maybe.
I feel Agumon was able to convince him by saying one of his favorite words man or punch or fight.
It seems like a long walk, right? And rather than just being walk outside the front door and then fight him
Imagine
there.
if it was just right next to the house.
Because you know what? There's nothing. It doesn't. The place wasn't relevant. It was getting punched in the face that was relevant.
Yeah.
Also, what I really like about this is the reason Masaru is so aggressive. They explain it really clearly. Is he's a little dumb and he is confusing the migraines with being angry.
Yes.
He's just when I look at you, I get pissed off because he's oh, my head hurts.
In the dub, it's just well, whenever you talk, I get a migraine.
Because if it's that, right? If it's whenever you get a migraine, it's oh man, my head kind of hurts. That's lame. No, but he's legitimately thinks that he thinks he's angry.
Look,
he's not, but he thinks
he is. I think we've
is.
said it before, is that nothing has ever gone wrong in Masaru's life, except, his dad did walk away, but potentially disappeared. But he could have, for all he knows, he could have walked away. He doesn't know that.
Well, the mom sure as hell didn't say anything.
Yeah, and I can just say that, what if he's never had a migraine or a headache or any sort
I've
of
never had a migraine.
Maybe you're lucky. Maybe
Yeah.
he's just never been ill, or maybe he's just never had a headache. And he's just kind of like what is this feeling? Must be anger.
I think he's just a bit dumb. We know that.
Yeah, that too, which is fine.
So Agumon eventually punches him out of frustration.
No, just sorry. Again, before that, so when Agumon says, "Look, this is where we first fought," and the W says, "This is where we fought man to man," and Marcus says, "Man to man, you're one short," because he's like a little frog.
It's pretty good.
Also, Masaru's just like really trusting of like this small dinosaur. Like, hey, dinosaur that just showed up, I will let you take me to this place.
Well, I mean, like, let's be honest. We know about Masaru's history. We've seen it before. He thinks he can take him. Nothing's going to go wrong. Because if he's going to fight, well, Masaru thinks he'll win.
I love Masaru so much. He's a good dog.
So we have a clip show in the middle of a punch.
Yeah, because
I don't care about anything they
and I
showed.
just want to say that we get this moment when Agumon gets really mad because Masaru says, "Look, shut up," and Agumon says, "Oh, Masaru, you idiot!" And in the dub, he's saying, "Look, whenever I think about you, whenever I look at you, whenever you talk, I get a headache, and you're really upsetting me now." And then when Agumon punches him, he says, "Sorry, boss," instead of you idiot.
Also, then when they finish all the flashbacks in the English, at least, Agumon is like audibly crying. He's
That's
like,
so
noise on it. Like,
It's
why
so
is he doing
cute.
that?
What I love is when Masaru remembers, and Agumon, who is like, I know I've said like half the cast is dogs at this point, but Agumon's a good dog because Agumon just starts like cuddling him and like nuzzling him, and it's really cute. And he's just like, how is he not just like a big Labrador in a frog costume? I mean, we've
guess
established
so.
that Agumon looks like a frog.
So you think that, like, to stop the memory wiping stuff, you just have to punch someone in the face?
I think you have to awaken their memories enough.
Okay, how would they do that to Chika and Sayuri?
I feel like, as I said, I think it's just connected. I feel like Agumon just punched them. No, I feel like Agumon just came up and said, "I love your fried eggs," and Sayuri's like, "Yes."
Because I don't think they're ever going to address that. I think because this will be like the third time something big and important will happen, and they're not going to, like, where are Akuto's parents? Where are they?
I feel like it's addressed. I don't remember when, but I hope soon.
Is his mom still in jail?
I
Because
hope
he
so.
doesn't seem to care.
Like, otherwise she should be. But like,
he even talks about them. Like, he remembers they exist.
Yeah, he should say, "I wonder how my parents are. I hope my mum's not in jail." That would be great. Gizmon's capturing the footage, and Kurata says, "Look, just destroy them." Yoshino and Thomas show up, and it turns out that Gizmon were also sent to get them because they got their memories back, but they were defeated. And then
We should
another one
establish
was sent.
quickly here. He's authorizing the murder bot right now,
Yes.
right? Yeah? So I'll just go and kill them, yeah?
Yep.
Why didn't he just kill them at the beginning when they came back?
I don't think he thought he needed to.
But what do you mean he doesn't need to? It's way more of a liability to leave them in the open than to just kill them.
Okay, no, I see your point.
There's no downside to killing them for this guy. If he's so politically connected and he has them on treason charges, just kill them. And he obviously thinks it's fine now, and he doesn't seem bothered by the decision in any way. It just seemed like, well, plan A didn't work, even though there's no reason to have gone for plan A. It had the same effect as plan B. It just let it open to the possibility of them escaping. I guess murder is now.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
So then they all defeat the Gizmon, and Akuto tells them to run.
Because
and
Gizmon
and
didn't
then-
get introduced in this episode, so they're way weaker.
And there's been some issues, I guess, because of the big silhouettes, which we still don't know what they are yet. Mysteries! What do you think of this episode as someone who is new to Digimon?
Like, it was a hell of a clip show, right? It had some fine bits, but mostly I wasn't really on board with it.
See, I like
the
this
treason. The treason stuff knocked me off kilter for the whole episode. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought that ruined pretty much the whole episode for me in advance because I knew nothing afterwards I could take it seriously. And it became very clear that it's a filler episode in the sense that I feel like if you cut off the entirety of this episode and just assume that they only got back for the first time in the next one,
Except for
then
the
it would be the
silhouette
same.
part. Except for the silhouettes, but that could have been tacked on to the end of the previous episode or maybe the next
But
episode.
silhouettes don't mean anything. That doesn't. No one knows anything.
Also,
Hasn't
Dats
seen
being on
anything.
fire and like something happening.
Oh yeah, no, they see Akuto and the whole thing blows up.
Yeah, but
Is
there's
that Dats?
that was the
Is
Dats building, I'm pretty sure.
The Dats building in like a secret thing underneath the docks?
no, that was the Dats building because that's where the silhouettes were.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, unless Akuto was very fast in moving from Dats to wherever Kurata was, so it
Yeah.
found him pretty quickly.
I guess so.
How would you rate this episode?
Like a 5, maybe?
See, I gave an 8, so I also agree that it was 1 point better than the previous episode.
I guess.
See, I just thought this was really good for feelings. I feel like it was, yes, technically, I guess it was sort of filler, but in the way that it acted as a good recap episode because it explained to you what the stakes were, like who the characters were, how they met their Digimon, who's important, everything about that, and I thought it was fine.
Miki Megumi sure aren't.
Yeah, they're sort of like, they're there, I guess.
Oh boy, are they only just there.
What was the major difference you noticed? Because there weren't that many for this.
To me, and it's really clear, and it's just because of my interest in it, it's the use of the word high treason as opposed to treason.
Yeah.
It's so different! There's a huge difference between a crime against your country and a crime against the king. Right? That's hilarious.
See, I guess my one was, and this is the only one that really spoke to me at all, because there weren't that many differences in either of these episodes this week, really, except for the inconsistent cutting last episode. But in this episode, it was when Agumon goes to punch Masaru after Masaru says that, oh, just shut up. And in the dub he says, looking at you gives me a migraine. And in the dub, Agumon says, sorry boss, because he's about to punch him. And in the original calls him stupid. Like, you're an idiot. And I just feel like that's the only change that really jumped out. But besides that, like, there weren't any changes. Like, I mean, there wasn't much that happened in this episode. I feel like you could summarize this episode in about 20 seconds, maybe 30.
There's a flashback.
Like, they lose their memories. The Digimon come to rescue them.
And they get their memories back.
They get their memories back. Akuto tries to get revenge on Kurata. There's some silhouettes. They beat up Akuto, and I guess they set fire to Dats. And then when Kurata sends Gizmon out to the main characters, then they're defeated quite easily because it's not their introduction episode. And then Akuto shows up and then tells them to run.
I have a very simple question. If Yatagaramon was defeated like instantly by whatever this silhouette thing was.
Yeah. Well, there were 3 silhouettes.
No,
three or maybe 4.
In that hallway, there was like 1, I think.
No, there's more than 1.
I don't think there was any. I think that they threw a blast at.
No. I know what's coming, and I knew what to look for. Those are silhouettes.
Fine, whatever. If he was defeated almost instantly, then how come he got away?
Yes, that too. I feel like because they couldn't kill him, and it was in the script that he got away.
What do you mean you couldn't kill him? They just authorized the murder bots and all those other dudes.
No, okay, I see your point. So the big bads have both been beaten so far by not the main character. We had Saber Leomon, who was, I guess...
He doesn't count. He was a bad guy of the week.
Yeah, okay, yeah, good point. He came up for like 2 episodes. But Marukimon was kind of like just killed by Kurata pretty easily.
Sorry, I don't agree he was a big bad. He was always on the side that humans and Digimon could coexist. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, but...
He was the biggest proponent of humans in this entire show.
When Marukimon first showed up, like with the Piomon and Falcomon episode, he was very, very sinister.
I don't know what you're talking about. He always thought
okay, no,
they
I
could
see
coexist.
what you're saying now. But the point is, this is like if Vamdemon showed up and killed Edamon and Devimon. But also the 2, like, I guess, quote-unquote bad guys were ultimate level Digimon. And they're also easily killed by a human, not by the main characters. And I just feel like it's kind of weird that, like, we haven't really seen the kids beat any big bads yet. And the big,
I guess,
sort of like the only things we could call as a big bad were defeated pretty easily by not the main characters and also their ultimate level Digimon, and they didn't require the main characters to get to ultimate to defeat them. I know, I just thought it was interesting.
I guess.
What are your thoughts about it?
I don't find it interesting.
I just find it interesting to link different seasons of Digimon.
That's your hobby, not mine.
Speaking of linking previous seasons of Digimon, so what we saw this week in the first episode, a death triggered an evolution, and this is so common in Digimon, and it happens every season.
Great.
Well, basically, I don't think it happened in Frontier. Maybe
there were no real deaths.
Yeah, I think there was like
didn't
deaths in general or
Koichi's death trigger the...
Oh yeah, Susanamon, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you lose.
Yeah, no, right, I lose completely. So, I feel like it's better than Wizamon and Leomon and also, I guess, Koichi.
I think they did better with Wizamon.
Really? You complained about Wizamon. You said they just introduced him like 2 episodes ago.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it was done well. I think it was done better.
Marukimon was introduced, I want to say, like 20 episodes ago.
For me, he was always on the side that humans and Digimon could
Shut up, okay?
The reason I don't like this is because he became a different character in this episode so that you would feel sympathy for him.
I don't agree.
Like, I think that he was on a slope of realization or whatever, but in this episode he's like, no, I was a completely different character from what you thought I was.
Right.
And so I didn't think it was good. That's it.
See, I thought it was fine. I mean, I preferred it to Wizamon. I preferred it to... Yes, I'm going to say it. I preferred it to Wizamon, and I preferred it to Leomon. And even though the Koichi thing wasn't just introduced, like, recently, like, that sort of had some plot to it and sort of some time...
I thought the one in Try was better.
I can't even remember the one in Try.
Yes, you do. It was in episode 1.
Who died in episode 1?
Was it episode 2?
Oh, you mean chapter 2? Yeah, chapter 2,
episode 2.
Yep. No, that was good. Yeah, but we're not.
That
we're not
triggered an
counting Try.
evolution.
No, it didn't. It was.
Yes,
it
it
happened
did.
because of an evolution.
No, I thought it triggered the evolution.
No, she evolved and did it.
I thought she did it and evolved.
Okay, it was at the same time, but it didn't explicitly trigger the
It's the
evolution.
same thing.
My point is, I'm not including Try in that.
Oh, whatever.
And then I addressed this earlier.
But that happened in chapter 5.
Back in the Neon episode, you mentioned being annoyed because even though he doesn't remember what happened, everyone else does. And I guess maybe this episode, but I know you still think that they went to the people's houses and beeped them.
Well, there's like 4 people to get. That makes sense.
I don't know. I feel like I just feel like it sort of like affects them. But you're right. It makes no sense why
I
it
can't
would.
figure out how it could possibly do that. It'd be like shooting someone in the chest with a gun and then all of their friends died.
Okay, no, I see a point.
Like, I just don't get it.
And I think we discussed Kurata and his intentions well enough.
Oh
this
boy,
episode.
did we.
I don't think we need to discuss
Oh, he's written
Kurata
so
anymore.
badly.
And I disagree there.
Like, I think he's got all these cool pieces of a cool villain, but then everything he does is stupid.
Have I convinced you of anything about Kurata?
Not really.
Because I feel like I've had some good points. I feel like you have as well.
I think that you've had good points that make sense if you don't consider the other half of his personality. And then when you talk about that half of his personality, you also have good points. But you keep forgetting they both exist together.
Yeah, and I feel like they could have done better to show that there's sort of like this duality between his character. Like,
Absolutely.
The two, he has like these two sides of him.
But I'm working with what they did show us, which unfortunately doesn't allow me to just assume a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's an alternate dimension.
For screenshot this week, I have to have the knuckle sandwich part where Galmon basically feeds his boxing glove to Agumon. And Jay, I don't think you
What I had initially was when all the Digimon are standing around and they're all laughing, I think something that Agumon says.
Yeah.
And there's a particular, like, because Galmon's kind of a serious figure, but he has like this really giant smile and his shoulders are all going and it looks really silly. And I had done a big red circle around that.
But you didn't send it to me,
No,
so you're
I
going to have to
forgot.
pick one of mine.
I don't know what yours are.
Well, I guess I'll just give you the closest one to your moment.
All right.
Which is the one where Galmon's sitting like a dog in the circle.
I'll take it.
Because he's looking like a dog.
I don't
It's
even
great.
mind.
It's great. But yeah, so the reason we don't have time to actually get Jay's screenshot is because
I'm not at home.
He's not going to go home for like several days. I'm keeping him alright. I'm actually locking him in my dungeon.
I'm a hostage. Everyone say
So it's a hostage situation here. So yeah, by the time this episode comes out, he will still not have been home because I guess the episode's coming out in what, like 8 hours?
Good luck.
Yay! No sleep for me. It's past midnight. So Digimon introduced. Are we even going to talk about Gizmon?
Skip it. Let's move on.
What about Yatagaramon?
No,
That
let's
is a
go,
cool
let's
design.
go.
That is a cool design.
Yeah, whatever.
That is a cool
I
design.
don't care.
Jay.
It's 12. No,
It's a cool
it's
design.
fine. It's a bird. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, it's a crow.
It's way cooler than Pekmon, I guess, is what I'll give you.
Oh yeah, it's way cooler than Pekmon. Like 100%. The Postmon Pat this week, we did not actually have any comments to our weekly poll this week because
Woohoo!
I guess I just pulled it out of nowhere.
Would
So
Matt's dead fighter Digimon? Yeah, no one would comment on that.
I believe we got some votes though, at the very least.
Okay. Was
We got more than 2.
9? Was it 9?
We got 21 votes.
I can't believe we had that much engagement.
So yeah, no comments, but apparently, unless like WordPress is lying to me,
Was it
we
20 yes?
No, we had 16 yes,
Close
5
enough.
no.
Wow.
What do you think? Would Yamato's dad fight a Digimon? I think he would.
I think push comes... I think if it threatened his kids...
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so we have
I
letters.
still think he's one of the original Digidestined.
But he'd be in the shots. You'd see him.
We do get shots, but we don't have close enough to see what they actually look like. I
like-
want to see the actual designs. I can't think I care more about the original Digidestined than I do about the Adventure Digidestined.
No.
I just want to know what happened. I think I care more about the original Digidestined than the 02 kids. Just show me more original Digidestined. Show me more.
So we got a Gmail from Ryuchi who says, when Jay mentioned hating Yggdrasil in Try, they were wondering how I'd feel about how I would feel about it in Savers, but didn't want to spoil it since they couldn't remember how far in advance it was. Now they know. However, they do remember it actually being done well in Savers. Well, other things aren't being
Can't
done
wait.
well, so who knows what that actually means.
But
and being
Ryuchi,
part of the mythology,
I believe that
really
Ryuchi
enjoy.
doesn't like Savers, so it's good that he said that something's good about Savers, right? Because if he and you both don't like Savers, but something's good in Savers, I don't know. We have hope, right? There's hope for Savers.
I don't.
Okay, continue.
And being part of the mythology they really enjoyed despite the series, so you can look forward to that. They think that reviewing Savers, it's important to keep in mind that it was made for older fans too, and that's why nothing that makes any sense, because you can't even use the excuse that it was for children. I had some issue with Jay complaining about it's good if you don't think about it in Frontier. Because they think it's fine to not have to think while watching a show, but if you want to target older viewers and older fans to boot, you have to be willing to step up your game. I mean, I get it in like a Teletubby sense. For 4-year-olds, you don't have to think about it, but 10-year-olds think about stuff. I think you're selling your audience really short to say that it's good if you don't think about it is the goal of your show. That stops at Teletubbies to me. Any more than that, you're allowed if. You should be encouraged to think about pieces of media.
See, sometimes when I'm watching something, I just want to sit down and I just want to go brain dead watching a thing. Like, that's just something, like, it's very soothing and it's very relaxing, especially for someone whose, like, head doesn't shut up half the time. It is very nice to be able to, like, try to just turn off the brain and just have something that doesn't require thinking about.
Does your brain feel like it's incredibly active when you watch a show like Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
That's a good show. Like, it's
Brooklyn
it's a show
Nine-Nine
I can switch it off.
is a really, really clever show, which, when you think about it, is even funnier because all of their jokes are very well crafted and all their characters are really well done. But it's a show you can turn your brain off of because it's also just entertaining.
And also,
that's what a show should be.
Yeah, it also isn't too in depth. Like, I like Game of Thrones, but like I have to pay so much attention to Game of Thrones, or else I'm just like, who's this character? What's their relation? Why are they salty?
So there are two sides of that spectrum then.
And
I think a show
also,
that is
also in the same way that Brooklyn Nine-Nine's entertaining and is what I'm watching at the moment is I'm watching Pretty Little Lies, and I think Pretty Little Lies is very good, but you do not have to pay attention to it. Like, there have been moments where I'm pretty sure I've just, because I have this problem where if I'm not moving, I kind of just pass out. So I'm pretty sure in some points of Pretty Little Lies, I have just passed out, not because I'm not interested, but because I just have this issue that it's just like, if I'm not, like, it's why I'm trying to move around a lot, because otherwise I will pass out. So I'm pretty sure I've missed, like, maybe, like, small little bits, maybe, like, a minute or so of Pretty Little Lies. But the fact is, like, you can just not pay attention for a minute, and it's not because it's slow, it's just because it's easy to understand and easy to follow, and that's really good. But, like, it's still something that, like, you want to think, like, it's a thriller, so you're like, okay, so who is the who is the actual murderer? Who is the one that's stalking them? I just think Pretty Little Lies is really good, and I think everyone should watch it. Yay!
Yeah, but if you start to think about that show, is it still good?
Well, yeah, it's good if you think about it.
Okay, so what
You don't have to.
I guess what I don't like about this show, right, about the idea of it's only good if you don't think about it, and then it stops being good if you do. And rather than just it being an audience thing, is that the mode you are forced to watch that show in is brainless.
See, I still think Savers is good.
You are forced to not think. We're not talking about Savers. It's got entertaining parts to it, and those are saving graces. But it is very clear to me that the core plot is not well put together.
And meanwhile, I also kind of liked Frontier. I feel like there are a lot of issues and problems with Frontier, but I still like it.
I thought there was like nothing redeemable about it.
Like, if I want to watch a season, like just a season of Digimon, like I might watch maybe Adventure, because there are episodes of Adventure that are much more enjoyable, but sometimes maybe I just feel like watching Frontier.
I honestly believe if that show did not have the word Digimon in the name and they replaced it with a different kind of monster, they replaced the designs you recognize with other things, but otherwise kept the show exactly the same, you'd think that show was trash.
Oh yeah, well I think it's like not particularly like the best Digimon season.
No, but you liked it, which means that the content of the show you thought was good.
I also have huge amounts of nostalgia for that season in particular.
But I think that's the only reason you think this way. And I know I'm assuming a lot of stuff that's going on in your head.
Oh no, probably. I'm not disagreeing with you there.
The opinion I'm forced to
just
conclude
saying
from
that,
having
like,
watched it.
I do like Frontier, but I do also think there are a few problems with it that could have been better. I feel like the way you described Frontier, like when you said this is how I would fix it, I was like, wow, that would be really good, because Frontier does have solid foundation, and the Frontier movie is actually quite good.
It's fine
compared to the rest of this Frontier.
It's got stuff going on, which is more like you say for the rest of it.
It has like the whole underlying thing of human Digimon versus beast Digimon. Anyway, continue.
So Ryuichi says that regarding Atmon, I was right. They did enjoy the Gatchaman Runs Away episode. It wasn't their top 10, but they liked it anyway. And looking at they're getting the Digimon game to see how they like it. But since they don't even have a gaming system, which game would they find the most enjoyable and would be worth worth the money.
Well, since you said that you don't have a gaming system, I would probably suggest one that's easily accessible without that, because gaming systems are expensive on their own. So
Vita's probably cheap, actually.
yeah, well, I was going to say that if you can pick up a Vita, because they are throwing out the Vita, even then, like, the PS TV is much cheaper than the Vita.
That is actually, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's like $100 here. So it's probably like $60 in America.
Probably less now.
No, knowing America. Well,
Yeah.
I think I bought it for like $130 when it just came out. Like, I bought it on release because at the time I was a student and I didn't have a job, and I was just on the dole.
Yeah, so
because-
PS Vita and Cyber Sleuth will run you like $100 American, and then you, at most, as far as we're aware.
Well, Cyber Sleuth keeps on going on sale, and I'm pretty sure I've seen it for like $20.
Yeah.
Cyber Sleuth, I think, is one of the best Digimon games, and I put 120 hours into it.
Yeah.
And I would replay it. I think it's got Jay didn't particularly enjoyed it.
I didn't like it.
But I feel like because it does have a slowish start.
It's not even that, right? I don't like except for very narrow exceptions. I don't like JRPGs that much. I don't like turn-based combat. I think it's boring.
You've often said that you like Persona, but like you actually prefer like the visual novel parts of Persona.
If I could skip the dungeons, I pretty much always would.
Like, if you could have a version of Persona which was just like the dating sim and visual novel part, you would play it.
Pretty much.
Like, that's why I think you should try visual novels.
I'll take boss fights. The boss fights are fun. But other than that, I think that like the dungeon crawling stuff is boring.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was so much. I hate random battles. Hate it.
Yeah, but it's good in Cyber Sleuth because you get like hacking skills, and one of the hacking skills you can like, it acts as like a repel from Pokemon, but like as you get a higher hacking level, there is one that just says, yeah, Digimon just won't show up when you have this activated.
Go read May's review. It's very glowing, and that probably will convince you to go play Cyber
Yeah,
Sleuth.
so I wrote a review on it, and I do. If you like that sort of genre of game, Cyber Sleuth is a good one. Alternatively, and another game which I have said is one of the best Digimon games is Digimon World 2003. It does require a PS1, so if you don't have access to a PS1, obviously that'd be too much money. So as for like if you don't want to get a Vita, there are games like on the mobile. Digimon Links just came out. That's great.
If you do get a Vita, though, you can play Persona 4, and that's a good game.
Yeah, if you get a Vita, you also have access to Persona
Danganronpa
4
1 and 2.
and 3.
3's not on the Vita.
Yes, it is. I'm buying on the Vita.
Is it?
Yeah, came out on the Vita.
Oh,
and
you
PS4.
mean V3?
Yeah, V3, sorry.
That's different.
Yeah, the 3's the anime. 3's not available on PS4 because it's the anime.
Are you looking forward to having that discussion like 5 years from now? Remember Danganronpa 3? Yeah, but 3 or V3? What?
Oh god, that's already annoying. Why do
So
they
we
have
got one
to
from
have difficulty?
Emamoto.
Anyway, so yeah, I would just say yes. At the end of the day, yes, Cyber Sleuth, because you can just have the Vita, but there's also DMO, which is free, so that's Digimon Masters Online, and a bunch of people from because I know Ryuichi is a Patreon supporter and has access to the Slack, so a bunch of people on the Slack are currently playing DMO together. You could jump on that's free. That only needs a computer, and I don't think you need a very good one either, and also it runs on Mac, because I used to play it on my Mac. So yeah, Digimon Links on phone, DMO on computer, Cyber Sleuth on Vita, but that just requires maybe a PS TV, which is like half the price of a Vita. And basically it's just like, it plays Vita games, but you plug it into your TV, and that's it. But some games aren't compatible. I'm pretty sure, at least on the Australian release, Cyber Sleuth is. But yeah, so Cyber Sleuth, probably a good choice there. Yeah, continue, Jay, sorry.
What? Huh? What?
So we got one from Emamoto. So regarding episode 24, says, so if Marukimon knew that Keenan was human, and knew that his human parents were looking for him, why didn't he send Keenan home through the Digigate he has been guarding the whole time?
Pause, because it goes to the ocean, and even though he couldn't know that, although he could just stick his head through.
So like, notice
the script.
Pause you for a second. Kurata came through that, and so did the rest of the exploration squad.
No,
they just landed in the ocean, apparently.
Yeah, just like the kids did.
Yeah. I never thought about that.
That
Like,
was was the exit.
You're right. It just leads to the ocean, I guess. I'm glad they didn't die. And then Emamoto says he could have sent Falcomon and Frigimon to the human world with Keenan to help the carriers.
Criers.
That Emamoto carriers.
It's probably a misspell.
Okay.
It's criers.
Keep peace between the worlds. The same way Kudamon and Kamimon help Crazy Fisherman and the Commander. I like Crazy Fisherman is his name.
The chief?
Yeah, Yushima. Homer. I can't believe his name's Homer.
Nice.
R.I.P.
I guess he's a bald man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Bald fat guy. Look, he could have done that, but I guess, I don't know. That portal did exist. It existed. It existed after Frigimon adopted the child, though. And I guess at that point, you can't make her give it up. Like, the show's not good at explaining people's motivations. I don't know. We don't have a backup for that, I don't think. There's no totally reasonable explanation. That's one way they could have done, especially considering they sent envoys through, and Kudamon... Who authorized Kudamon? Was that from Mercuriumon? Or was Kudamon acting independently?
I don't know.
Because maybe he knew about Kudo the whole time and no one ever said anything.
I know that he was sent by Suguru, but if he was sent by Suguru, I feel like Suguru would have said, "Oh, BT dubs."
Ikuto's over there. We know that because we gave the Digivice.
I didn't think about that.
We got one from With the Will from Chuckmon who says, first on Atmon, the reveal. Okay, skip forward about 30 seconds because of spoilers. The reveal of the shadow figure being a version of YJ14 and the episode being cut for time to never show us the actual reveal was huge. They can't believe they never fixed that. It's interesting to hear. I still don't necessarily believe it myself. And with regard to Savers, episode 23 should have really been entitled Ikuto's Decision, despite Jay's reveal of glaring holes and how stupid Dats is with playing dumb and withholding information they would obviously know unnecessarily and often at their staff's peril, and in brackets, seeing how truly bad this was written and organized. Thanks, Jay. They did like how this episode flowed very much. The switching back and forth between Ikuto wrestling with is he human or is he Digimon? Is he human or is he dancer? And the gradual reveal of Kurata's backstory and what really happened that fateful day in the digital world was a good way to organize the two stories into a single episode. And episode 24 in Data Squad had a ton of scenes cut. It really waters down the impact for the sake of young American audiences. Is it worth it? Poor Hiroshi was dubbed, name changed to Homer. Chuckmon also agrees with you. The Gomon were super cute. What a tug at the emotions. And next week, another sweet Falcomon Digivolution. Falcomon, yeah.
Yay.
Can anything be awesomer than Peckmon? Maybe.
Definitely.
On Tumblr, we got one from an Anonymon who says, is Try just Hurricane Touchdown starring the Adventure Crew? Mako and Makumon is just Willis and Lotmon again. The 02 kids share the vague missing in action status that the Adventure Crew did, and even Seraphimon shows up.
Oh no. All we need is All-Star and Wendigomon dancing to All-Star and we're good.
Oh my god.
Or I guess May Crackmon in this situation.
We got one from Trickstar Holy Angel who says, they're starting to learn French and suddenly Atmon is announced in French. They should relearn English and hope for the best.
Let's all study English and hope.
Ellie Vorg says, in episode 23 of Savers, Masaru's desire to fight Mercuriumon is because he legitimately intends to communicate with him through the medium of punching. This is an idea he picked up after becoming friends with Agumon by fighting him. I don't think I agree. I think that was a happy result, but I think that he's been communicating with people through punching for a long time. And you could argue that's him crying out for help because he misses his dad, but that's a complicated, sad way of looking at it. It shows how much he's changed from the Street Fighter who only fought people to prove he was the strongest, and this understanding through fists will continue to be a philosophy from Masaru's throughout the rest of the series. In the dub, however, the idea is completely lost. It's clear that Marcus sees his fight with Mercuriumon as just a fight, which he somehow expects to not get immediately killed in, and nothing more. Although, to be fair, he did, and I understand that he was weakened, but he did punch Saberleomon's face so hard his tooth shattered.
Super hard.
And also, he punched out a Gizmon, which is pretty sweet. Kurata must have done experiments between the expedition and the massacre in order to create Gizmon, which would have involved secret tips to the digital world to gather Digimon to experiment on. The destabilization of the barrier is implied to be due to his experiments with space-time oscillation bombs. And I agree with that. And I've just realized, do you remember when Mercuriumon said that he can sense people coming into the digital world?
Yes.
Why was he surprised when Kurata came in that time when he keeps coming in and he would have detected him every time?
Maybe he did detect him, I don't know.
But he said, like, the moment like he came in the first time, he was like, okay, this dude's betrayed me now. I already know.
Okay, no, I see
also,
your point.
he can sense the intent in their hearts, remember? Kurata attempting the massacre with only a handful of men was likely just hubris, thinking his new invention was unstoppable. And after it failed, Kurata realized that he needed to create a stronger Gizmon and also a better opportunity. So he waited for tensions between humans and Digimon to escalate on their own, enough that he could catch Mercuriumon off guard, while he was preoccupied with either fighting or negotiating with Dats. Hashiba is a politician who only cares about saving face with the public after Digimon's existence gets exposed, and he gets blamed for having known all along. I would argue that the Minister of Confidentiality is probably not a public figure.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, I understand a minister is someone who's just in Parliament, but confidentiality is not a portfolio you would be open about because you keep it confidential. Like, I don't know, it just seems like a really weird thing to be made public, and the fact that you were trying to keep this thing secret, no one's announcing that you failed in your job because your job was secret. I don't know. It's complicated. Therefore, he would want to order an expedition to deal with the supposed leader of the invading Digimon. And I'm not even saying he wouldn't want to deal with him, but if he's so stupid that genocide was an option on the table, then he would have just agreed to that. He wouldn't have had to be convinced to, like, parlay about it. And it doesn't seem like it's his jurisdiction. His jurisdiction is keeping the public from knowing stuff, not from actually dealing with other dimensions. I don't know, I just don't really believe that this one politician has as much power as it clearly implies he does. Kurata had likely been spending a lot of time gaining Governor Hashiba's favor because he knew that the Ministry of Confidentiality could overrule DATS on things that mattered. Not where Ikuto goes, even though he said that's where he goes, but, you know, other stuff that matters, like invasions of other dimensions, which is not the military's beat at all. DATS almost certainly does have less authority than it seems, as it was founded by Suguru, and so is more like an independent organization with government ties than actually part of the government.
That makes sense.
Well, in that case, it would have even less. It would be less tied to what Hashiba wants them to do. If they're a private organization, they're just like, okay, well, we're just not going to do what you say. The only reason that this works is because it is a government organization. That's why the minister would have anything to say about them at all. That's how you fire someone from DATS, right? Because the government has direct control.
Right.
Which is what just happened in this episode. And both Toma and Satsuma suspect Kurata, but couldn't do anything about it until it was too late due to the ministry's authority. Well, it seems to me that they just kind of didn't like him, and then in hindsight they're gonna be like, yeah, we always knew. But I don't know, either they were lazy and which would be weird, or they just didn't know as much as they clearly say they did now. Alright, everybody, join us for the next episode of Wake Up Girls, the beginning of the end.
Or Chase Kurata, the operation of Digimon experimentation begins.
That's
Oh no,
his
extermination. Extermination too, but also probably he'll be doing some experimenting too.
I really think that you've overthought that part. He stitched this thing together out of Digimon, but like Digimon experimentation is not his deal. He just wants to kill them.
Good point. Continue.
Or evolution is impossible. The Digivices break down.
Or, and Jay was meant to read this title, Digivice Meltdown.
Right under the bus. Right under there.
For Weekly Wonders this week, I'm actually going to recommend another language learning app because apparently that's all I recommend nowadays. It's Pretty Little Liars and language learning apps. So this one I found out about because of Tofugu, and they're a Japanese culture and language article blog thing, but they also have a podcast, and they mentioned that there's this language learning app that's free. It's called Lingodeer, and you can learn Japanese, Chinese, or Korean, I believe. It's definitely Japanese because that's what I'm learning, and it's pretty good. It's like I just recently finished Duolingo Japanese, and
she's fluent now.
No, it's like it's not even N5. It's not as like I guess it's because it only just came out, and maybe they'll add to it in the future, hopefully. But Lingodeer seems to be like some good content as well. Also, you can set to see what shows up. Like you can just say, hey, I don't know any hiragana, so I just want to learn the hiragana for it. So they'll just give you hiragana. Or you can just say, hey, I want to learn the kanji, but also I kind of want furigana, and you can have that as well. Or if you just want to really challenge yourself, you can just have the kanji. So it's really good in that way that you can really choose how much you want. And a lot of the time, my complaints with Duolingo is that they weren't giving me kanji that I felt like they should be testing me with. Like watashi, which is I'm pretty sure is an N5 level kanji, and they should be teaching you that straight away. Instead, they don't. I think they mention it once, maybe in one exercise, but then never again. And then they continue to just use the hiragana for watashi and not the kanji for it. So I recommend trying out Lingodeer. It's free as far as I can tell, which I'm consistently amazed with how many free apps there are and how good they are. Like, as I said, I'm consistently amazed with Memrise as well, which is very good and free and it does have a premium plan, but it is completely usable without doing anything else. So I'm very amazed with how many good resources there are that are completely free. So yeah, check out Lingo Deer if you're learning any of those languages, especially Japanese, because learning Japanese is good, especially if you want to go consume some Digimon. Nom nom nom. What about yours, Jay?
I played and completed Hive Swap Part 1. It's awesome. It's a...
I remember Homestuck.
Yeah, it's a point-and-click adventure based on Homestuck, which honestly, I'm pretty sure you could play this entire thing without having ever touched Homestuck once.
And that's good. I believe that they should make it like that.
Because the characters there are references to the characters from original Homestuck, but it clearly takes place like 20 years beforehand.
Wow, it's before?
It clearly takes place before, yeah. It seems to me there is a fairly straightforward relationship, but
and you kickstarted it many years ago, right?
Back in what, 2012?
You know what's weird? I always thought when they released it, they would release a game and not just like the first part of a game, which I believe I've heard it's only like an hour or two.
It was 2 hours long, but I think if you Kickstarter it, you get all parts of it as it comes out.
Oh, that's good, at least.
And the first part's cheap. It's like $7.
When's the next part?
I don't know. No, it probably won't be that long. But like, it's this really charming little adventure where just like, you're in your weird mansion, because the thing about Homestuck is all the characters are defined by like some very clear and quirky traits, and the two human characters are really fun. That I really like both of them. Your main character, who you spend the first half of this part 1 in, you're wandering around the house sort of trying to defend yourself from these weird monsters, and then you are teleported to another world, and when you are teleported to that other world, someone else, one of the aliens from that world, is teleported to your world.
That's
so
cool.
your homes are swapped, right? And
that's why it's called Hive Swap.
It is, because the home on the alien planet is called a hive, right? And also it fits in with Homestuck, Hive Swap, and it's a whole like thing.
I'm just worried it'll get me into that horrible Homestuck trash that I was a couple of years ago.
I don't think it will do that exactly, but I do like everything about Homestuck that was really good is like condensed down into this. It's all like the fascinating mystery of like, I want to know what's going on. All the incredible character writing is in this. Like, there are some lines that were written that are just absolutely hilarious.
Like, one day I'm just going to go to work and I'm going to be accidentally wearing one of my many Homestuck shirts.
Like,
especially the Dave one.
The brother, so the two human characters are a brother and a sister, and the main character is the sister. But the brother, who is playable, is like a hardcore, like, I wouldn't call him like a conspiracy theorist, but more like a young what's the word, prepper, where like he's always thinking, okay, something's gonna happen, something's gonna go down, there's gonna be an emergency, and I need to be ready for it. He's got his 3 homing pigeons, the lone gunbirds.
That's cute.
Langley, Byers, and Frohickey.
I love that. I love that it's a reference to the X-Files. And
you communicate with the characters communicate with the walkie-talkie. And
are they actually called Langley, Frohickey?
Yeah, no, it says it.
That's fantastic.
And
but by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, they're from the X-Files.
And they're the lone gunmen.
I love the X-Files. I named my dog after Langley, who is one of the lone gunmen.
So
he's the best. Actually, no, Bias is the best, but Langley's a good dog.
There's one bit where they're talking on the radio, and the brother goes, all right, radio silence from here on in on this unsecured channel. And she's like, okay, sure. Because one time back when I was in training, I just kept on gabbing on these radio channels, and boy howdy, did that ever get me into trouble. Okay. So, okay, I really need you to make sure that you're really quiet. And like, I feel there's all these like really good gags. The timing's really good, and the animation's really nice. You can kind of tell why the game took so long, because
did they also have issues with
all the art's really beautiful?
I feel like he had issues with like some of the departments. Like,
I mean, there was development stuff as well, but like, I think a lot of it's really like hand drawn, like, and it's really, really nicely done, very detailed and complicated. I don't know. I really highly recommend it, and it's like $8 Australia. It might be $8 US. I don't know. It's cheap.
I'm pretty sure the Steam store is in US.
Yeah.
I feel like at one point it was in Australian dollars.
I don't know why it wouldn't be in Australian dollars for us.
At one point it was in Australian dollars, and I don't think it is at the moment.
I don't think it is either.
I'm not sure if like maybe there's a setting that was like switched off, or if they just decided just to have it in US dollars because then they didn't have to worry about conversion. I don't know. It's PayPal's problem, the conversion fees or something. I don't know. But yeah, I haven't played it. I probably will. Like, I was pretty into Homestuck a couple of years ago. It's a thing.
That actually would mean they wouldn't have to set different prices for different regions. That wouldn't be their responsibility, which is probably saves them a bit of time and money.
No, that's fair. I mean, I think it's in US dollars. I'm not sure. Anyway,
I think so too.
So the link dump's linked in the description. And this week's weekly poll is Best Death Triggered Evolution: Yatagaramon, Leomon, Wizardmon, or Koichi? And when I was thinking of does Wormmon count as an evolution trigger? Probably not, right? Because Wormmon does die and there is an evolution, sort of.
What do you mean by sort of?
Wormmon kind of no, Magnamon appears before Wormmon fully dies, right? Yes.
I thought he needed the energy for Magnamon to appear.
No, that was the engine of Ken's base, I think. I'm not sure. I don't think Wormmon counts. Because I was trying to think of all the other deaths that triggered evolutions, but I don't think Wormmon counts. You can find our screenshots of the week and our weekly wonders linked in the description and in our link dump. Our Redbubble is also linked in the description, and you can buy more than just shirts there too. You can contact us and stay updated. You can email us at LostinTranslationmon@gmail.com, or you can comment on this episode and messages on SoundCloud. You can follow us on @TranslationMon on Twitter, and you can find us on LostinTranslationmon on Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We have a Discussion thread on With the Well, and a Red thread in the Digimon subreddit, and we would appreciate if you would review us on iTunes and or Stitcher or whatever podcast listening service you use, because we really rely on those ratings. We also have a website. You can vote in our weekly poll, see our release schedule, and read our blog posts, which I've been writing probably more than I should. I put a lot of work into the blog and the podcast. And you can also donate to our Patreon, which is linked in the description, and on our website from as little as $1 a month. And that gets you access to a list of Slack chat group. But there are higher levels with more things like rewards, like notes, early episodes, and more.
And thank you to our current Patreon supporters, Sam Krieger, who has a podcast called The Moncast with Stevie. Stevie, who is also Stevie Patamon on Tumblr, is currently taking commissions. Wu Qinglong, who you can find at twitch.tv/Wu Qinglong. Metal Mamimon, Joe, Penguin Mage, Anime Guy, who is Anime Guy Kurosaki and the number 1 on YouTube. Chuckmon, Ishwal Bamba, Hiro Alado, who's at Hiro Alado on Twitter. Jason Morosky, Ryuchi, who's Frost Miragic on Archive of Our Own. Stephen Rees, who's at WildWing64 on Twitter. Kaitawashi, Mac, Noam, Riku, Chisai, who you can follow at Chisai236 on Tumblr. Corey, Kyle, the Lady Bugman, whose anime blog you can find at baguburagu.wordpress.com. Smallwolfie, who is on Tapastic as Smallwolfie and has a comic there called Eden of Melancholy. Tom, Lishgoat, Azra McCool, Gene Hackmon, Matthew, Anthony, who is at AntoClassic on Twitter. Lizmet, who is Lechmon on Tumblr. Sithobi, Ellivorg, who's Ellivorg on Tumblr, Sporky McForkinspoon, who is the host of a Digimon podcast called Going Digital, Megan Kyliak, Neobu, Jams, The Time Optimist, and Silverhead Freak 25.
You can also make one-off donation on our PayPal, which we found in the description. It's paypal.me/edgemon. Make sure to listen us for the podcast. See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.